You might remember this city a little bit if you've been watching the Archipelago series. It's a little destroyed at this point. For anyone who's not been watching the series, yeah, we're playing on an archipelago map, and we had two extraordinarily powerful tsunamis hit days apart from each other, one from this direction and one from this direction, and it basically leveled the entire city. So we ended the series, and I just want to see what it will actually take to get this city back up and running. Now, for the record, for right now, we are on no disasters on. There are no disasters currently. I'm going to turn it back on, and I'm going to put the random disaster frequency at about 50% here. So we're going to crank that on down, and we will resume here. But let's hop in real quick to the cinematic camera, and let's take a look at some of this glorious, glorious real estate we've got here. I mean, this is just an intersection. Okay, this doesn't look so bad. This is okay. Like, it's a little sparse, but it's okay. We're getting some awkward angles here. I'm not gonna lie. This isn't really showing us very much. I was hoping to see... Okay, this is a little bit better. We can see a good amount of rubble here. Yeah. Fantastic. This is not so great. Okay, so let's hop out of that and let's take a look at some of this glorious high land value real estate here. It is amazing. Oh yeah. So we're going to be basically just dealing with this, although I am noticing that I don't like the positioning of the chat box for this game. Let me just edit that real quick here. It's been a while since we've done some chat box editing, but let me just move that up a couple hundred... Nope, that's not up. Let me move that up a couple hundred pixels here. Maybe too much. There we go. That looks much better. Fantastic. Love the content, by the way. Well, thank you very much for that, John Graves. It's always good to hear that people enjoy the nonsense that I create. So we're going to come on over here, and we're very far in debt. There's very little we're going to be able to do until our population starts to recover. So for the time being, all we're going to do here is remove searched structures. Good time to be in construction, bad time to be in insurance. Absolutely true. Actually, I think I do need to move that 50 more pixels up because of the location here. Exciting stuff. Like I said, it's been a while, but it's always a good time when the chat box needs to be moved. Perfect. That's a much better position. I like it. Okay, so we're going to come down over here, and we're going to remove a bunch of rubble. And this is going to be what we're going to be doing for the next little while here, at least. We need to get our population to start coming back up. Hello, where are all you guys going? Pick up? Pick up? Yeah, okay, sure. Well, we need to get our population back up. I'm going to go on to speed 3. Because we need to start turning around our financials here. Now, we have all of our economy at, well, we're at maximum that we can go without people complaining. But we have all of our services down at half that are, you know, actually relevant. I mean, this one, I don't know how that got there. Our citizens are unhappy. I don't understand how that could have happened. I don't know. I feel like I'm taking that personally, that the citizens are unhappy. There's no extenuating circumstances whatsoever here. I think that's pretty clear. No extenuating circumstances. We'll be continuing to search these rubble piles for quite some time. Patiently waits for another tsunami. Yeah, I mean, that's possible. We did turn disasters back on. Now, we have already accepted the bailout, so I think it'll just let us go, like, infinitely into debt, and that's not necessarily the purpose of this. I just want to see just how long it will take to get this back. By the way, we were in, like, well, we're in September of 2045, so we'll keep that in mind. I just destroyed a building that could have had people in it, but it also may have been abandoned. I don't know. These are abandoned here, these are destroyed and need to be searched. A lot of people moved out, even if their structures weren't destroyed. And that's because we cranked up taxes trying to keep afloat, but that didn't work. And after that, a lot of people moved out, and also, I don't know, maybe they just couldn't buy insurance. That's a possibility. I wouldn't insure this city. That's for sure. We may also, once we get some finances, want to build some anti-tsunami defenses. That's a possibility, but if we want to do that, that's going to be kind of difficult. But we'll see. For the time being, we've got a lot of stuff that we need to get rid of here. And, yeah, this is going to be a lengthy process, for sure. Lots of searched locations, but currently I would argue that there are more not searched locations than there are searched locations. And we're not going to have any demand here for a very long time. Double tsunami, double very strong tsunami from multiple angles, days apart, was rough. That's for sure. Okay. So we've got this down over here. We'll get rid of all of these structures as well. For now, most of our roads and other infrastructure remained intact. We are, of course, going to need to rebuild a lot of our structures. So that's a thing. We also may want to consider bringing our finances back up. Does the game let you spend? Not while we're in debt. We cannot spend while we are in debt. So we're going to have to come out of debt. See, we just don't have the cash for that. Oh, this one needs to be searched for survivors. But if we were to come in here, yeah, not enough money. It won't let us build anything. So for the time being, we will need to do that. And we'll start turning up our services budgets a little bit later on. But for right now, what we need is our population to recover. We're currently at about 20% of our original population, and that's just not enough to support our city's budget, even with the surviving structures being what they are. So that's a thing. And eventually we will get rid of this disaster response unit, but it's very important at this point that we have a disaster response unit, especially since we can't rebuild them. And we have one there, we have one over here, and I put up another one. Well, our original one is up over here, so that's fine. We do have our residential up here that is starting to develop back up. Demolition crews doing it for free. Yeah, I'm not sure why they work for free, but they do. Seems a little strange to me, but I guess it's for situations like this, so that the player has something to do. Okay, that was not the abandoned structure. I guess that one was abandoned? Sure. I like how some of these industrial sites are just like a single tree. It's pretty great. Okay, so we're going to come over here, get rid of all of this stuff. How do you abandon a tree and have that be a problem? Like, that was just an abandoned tree that I bulldozed. Okay. Exciting stuff, that. So we're going to delete these trees and replace them with different trees, because that makes a lot of sense. And this is abandoned. Oh, that was rubble that needed to be searched. So was that. Okay. I'm gonna stop that. I'm accidentally deleting rubble, and I shouldn't be doing that, because that is making it more difficult for our population to recover. We're just, for now, going to demolish the searched buildings. So that'll be fine. Lots and lots of devastation here. And that's fully expected. Like, when those tsunamis came in, we knew what was coming. There wasn't much that we could do about it. We're going to continue finding survivors for quite some time here. And, go away, Twitter. I still wish that they would add a clear all Twitter notifications button. That would be awfully nice, but alas, that's not happening at this moment. We will continue to eliminate some of this over this way, and the question now is, what do we got going on over here? I'm noticing a lot of crime issues, so we're going to try to crank up our police budget only, and we're not spending very much on police, so we're going to bring that up to 100%. That'll be fine, and we are getting better in terms of our income. It is by no means good, but it is certainly better. Our citizens are unhappy. Oh. I definitely think building parks is the answer here. The game is correct on that front. Oh boy, lots and lots of rubble. I'm vaguely surprised that we haven't had additional tsunamis coming in. I'll be honest. But we haven't thus far. They'll happen. Abandoned buildings? Where could those be at? Like, I don't see any abandoned buildings anywhere in this city. None at all. Ridiculous. The sheer amount of devastation wrought by those tsunamis. I'm just kind of in awe at this point, honestly. That's what's going on right now. So we'll keep on doing this. People are complaining on Twitter about the abandoned houses. Sure. Just in time for my graduation. Okay. Somebody graduated. I didn't know we still had schools. Apparently we still have schools. That's good to know. How are we doing on schools anyway? Yikes. Hey, our universities are fine. And apparently we have 5 public library users. That's exciting stuff. So currently, obviously, our mass transit is not doing well. Can we completely shut down our mass transit line? Let's see here. We want to go into our ferries. Can I just temporarily shut this down? They should let you sell the scrap. That would be nice. Let's see. This is whether it runs day or night. Well, we can definitely turn down the number of vehicles. And that will save us some money. So we'll do that. We're just going to go down to 2 ferries. And our ferries will not be doing much for now. I don't imagine books would do well in a tsunami. It depends on the books. And whether they're made out of plastic or not. Like, the entire book, each individual page is laminated to prevent tsunamis. That would be quite an undertaking. Well, we've got a lot of disaster to get rid of here, but things are definitely improving for us. We're up to 13,000, and we're only losing 34,000 per week now. So, that's not bad. Things are definitely looking up. As I said in the finale of this series, this is not an unrecoverable situation since we can go infinitely into debt. It'll just take time. But what I'm mostly interested in finding out with this stream is exactly how much time it will take. I mean, we've been working on this recovery almost, well, we've been working on it for about 6 months now, since we started the stream. So, and I feel like we've just got a drop in the bucket here. We're still searching a lot of locations. There's still a lot of abandoned locations, too. I'm not too concerned about the abandoned locations for now. I just want to eliminate the rubble. Being able to sell the scrap would be awfully convenient, though, and would be an interesting way to help a player recover from a situation like this. That's definitely an interesting concept. This down over here is all residential and is quite important that we get this cleaned up. Because we need places, of course, for our residential people to live. For our residential people, for just our regular people to live. People like to live in places, as it happens, and we need to have a place for them to live in. I know that they're very demanding, but it's true. So this is already all cleaned up here. We got that cleaned up in the series finale. So this should all be reasonably fine. And we can maybe think about doing something about that highway there. But I would like to get rid of some of these abandoned structures over here. Cool. That one is collapsed and needs to be searched. But there's a lot of cleanup that needs to be done here. No doubt about that one. So we're going to bring this on down. That's a collapsed structure there. We are still working on searching a lot of this. Funnily enough, we're still finding survivors, and we're like, ooh, I deleted that road. Yikes, we can't rebuild that yet. We'll have to come back to that one. So we're still searching for survivors and still finding them, shockingly. Like, over a year after the tsunami hit. I don't know about that one. I feel like that's probably, at a certain point, you just got to give up on the survivors, right? But, I mean, apparently they're somehow surviving in that rubble. Some real survival skills in this city. I don't know how they're doing it, but sure. So we've got quite a lot over this way. I accidentally deleted this previously, and that would need to be remade once we are out of debt. We're still going deeper into debt for now, and that will continue to be the case for quite a while here. Time until the next tsunami, it's random. Whenever the game decides to throw a tsunami at us is when that's going to happen.
You know my boss. I'm doing a really good job. I need this to go.
Okay. We're continuing to search here. Although we are at half frequency, so it might be a while. Which would be okay. So we're just going to continue to eliminate as much rubble as we can. I believe I clicked on the wrong thing there, but that's fine. As long as we don't do that too frequently. We are up to 15,000 at this point. So our population has grown 50% since we started this stream. That's impressive, actually. 50% growth? That's insane. So we're just going to continue to clean up some of this area. This island was definitely hit the hardest. There's no doubt about that. I'm wondering how far into debt we're going to go to. Like, we're at 3.5 mil right now. It's going to take a while before we come out of debt. And I think that ultimately the win condition, quote unquote, of this stream is going to be coming out of debt. Once that's done and we get a little bit of roads rebuilt and rebuild all of our structures here, that'll be another part of the win condition, actually. We would need to rebuild all of this. So once we get all of our structures rebuilt and we're out of debt, which we have to be to rebuild, at that point, I think that that's probably considered a quote-unquote win condition here. But we might be facing more tsunamis. I mean, we could always create a tsunami if we wanted to, but I don't see much point in that right now. That's kind of counterproductive to what we're going for here. So that's fine. What is this? Burned down. Okay. Yeah, I'm not shocked about that. We've got... Our services are not necessarily great right now. City needs more water. Well, we can't do anything about that, and I feel like that's not actually true. Like, we were fine on water before the tsunami hit. Sewage issue up over here. Do we lose any water treatment plants? No. Did we lose a water pipe connection down over this way? No. Okay. Well, there's nothing we can do about that. So we might start going negative here again. Potentially. It does bear noting that we can't take loans. We've already taken our... Oh, actually, we could take this loan. Not that that would be helpful. Like, that's just a drop in the bucket, and paying that interest is completely useless to us. Okay. So, sewage up over here. Why are we having an issue with this? I'm wondering if our rubble is still contributing to water draw and sewage draw. Let's check that. So our water consumption and sewage production is exactly the same right now. 209,488. Let's delete these here. Tick it forward a little bit. $211,472. So our consumption went up by deleting that. That's interesting. Well, part of that is probably to do with our budget. So we could definitely bring up our sewage budget. That will cost us money. But if we do that, then that will solve that problem. Cool. So how bad is it with that up at full? Oh, that's not a problem at all. So yeah, that was the problem, was the funding. Sounds good. We've got some fire issues going on as well, so we should probably turn the fire services back up. There we go. Cool. So if the fire services turned back up, they should...
The Coast Guard is warning of a tsunami approaching the
There
area.
it is.
Residents should avoid roads and waterfronts.
Here comes another one. Oh boy. Well, there's a third tsunami. The game has decided that it really doesn't like us. This looks like it's a relatively weak tsunami.
Take caution and avoid roads
And honestly, this area is pretty heavily hit anyway, and isn't really going to be that big of a problem. Coming in this direction, I don't think it's really going to hit anything of note. But there it is. There's the next tsunami. The game has really decided to throw a lot of tsunamis at us. The major issue here is if this disaster response unit collapses. We'll see if that happens. A lot of this is flowing back. This is a pretty weak tsunami compared to the other ones that hit us. And it's hitting the island this direction. So the wave is, I think, already largely broken. Okay. Yeah, we can see a lot of outflow going this direction. I don't think it's a problem. This particular tsunami is not going to cause us major issues. It'll cause us minor issues, to be sure. But broadly, I think it's okay. It's going to hit up here, and it weakens up this direction, looking at the normals. So I really don't expect this tsunami to be particularly major. Unlike the previous ones that made it over this island, this island, this island, this island, and hit this island. Coming from this direction. Like, that was a major problem, for sure. So we're just going to continue to eliminate these structures that are being searched for now. And honestly, if I was looking at moving into this city, I wouldn't. With this tsunami track record. I would also refuse to insure anyone living in this city, but here we are. Tsunami walls wouldn't be a terrible idea if we could build them. Of course we can't. So flood walls would be like out over here. Now, unfortunately, those have to be built on land. You can't build those on water. And our land that we actually have access to is quite minimal. So there's that. But I don't think this is really going to do all that much damage, all things considered. Cool.
A tsunami has struck the city.
That's that same
Take
one.
caution
I think
and
that's
avoid
hitting
roads
up over
and
this way now.
until the water recedes.
Yeah, that's the same tsunami. That's not a different one. But, I mean, 3 tsunamis in very short order there. It has now been about a year since we started up the stream. So that is good to know. And we're definitely making our way through here. We're starting to see some people moving in over this way, despite the tsunamis. Excellent. You'd think at some point it would throw a different disaster at us, but here we are. So lots of searches happening over here, and really this didn't do that much damage over here. That tsunami did almost no damage. So that's great. That one was not a problem. Completely and totally fine. So we will continue to rebuild, remove rubble. We are at about 17,000 almost at this point. So that's great. What's with all of the water? Too much water. Yes, there is a lot of water. This is true. This is very true. There are several gallons of water. Turns out we live on an archipelago. So we're going to eliminate some of the rubble over this way. But yeah, there really wasn't all that much rubble created by that particular tsunami. That one wasn't bad. That was a pretty low intensity tsunami. So we're okay with that one. It's still flooding out over here. We're having some ripple effects, if you will. But that's all flowing out, and we should be reasonably fine quite soon. Apparently there's water here, but I don't see it. It's gone now. There's still, I think, a little bit of... Is there any tsunami left? I mean, it's basically up here now. But this was already heavily hit, so this is not a concern. But yeah, it is hitting the Casserole district, but it's not going to go much further than that. This appears to be good. The residential areas are the most important for us right now to get recovered, and that is where we are currently focusing our efforts. Ah, there's a bit of a ripple effect over here.
A tsunami has struck the city.
But I don't expect this to be particularly major either. We've got a waste collection truck here. At first I thought it was a pumping truck that pumped all that, but no, that's absolutely not the case. So a little bit of flooding over here, but all things considered, that tsunami was nowhere near as bad as the previous ones. There are some cars floating away. I'm sure they'll be fine. Okay, it's resurging back in. Hilarious. Just watching them floating out. Oh, this is funny. But it's okay. Right now, this is where our hopes lie. And that'll be great. We are currently at minus 32k, and that's because we had to crank up our services budgets again. And in fact, we may want to do that pretty much across the board. Although, well, I think I'm going to do that. Roads are very expensive right now. I think for the moment, we'll leave it as is, budget-wise. And as we spot problems, we'll crank budgets back up. For the time being, we need to continue to eliminate rubble. That is the top priority. Cool. We are getting some searches done. How's this going over here? Okay. Honestly, that didn't create all that much more rubble over here either. Might be a bit before our pumping services get over there, but yeah. All things considered, not bad. Not bad at all. This is clearly an excellent tourist destination. Like, just look at this ambiance. Perfect for tourists. I like it. It almost looks like there was, like, nuclear apocalypse here. It's great. Okay, so we are going to continue to eliminate some of these. There's a lot of rubble that still needs to be searched. We have been at this now for about a year and a month in this stream, and we were working on this for, what, probably about a year in the finale episode. So this is about 2 years of progress.
A tsunami has struck the city.
That's not a new tsunami. That is the weak tsunami that we're not that concerned about. It's up here right now, but it's not really doing much. So that's okay. We're a little flooded over here still, but that's fine. And we can definitely eliminate some of these structures. Now, to be clear, the game will automatically bulldoze these if someone wants to build there, but I like to eliminate it earlier than that for land value purposes, so that'll be fine. We're currently 4 million in debt. That's not so bad, really. I expected to be deeper in debt at this point. I expected like 5-6 million, so that'll be fine. Visit Contiguity today, now featuring rubble, rubble, and more rubble. Well, just look at our theme park. Like, you come to the theme park, this is the entrance. This is the entrance. You get in somehow through the entrance, and you're greeted with this. But hey, we've got a drop tower. And we've got a second drop tower. We've got a somehow functioning roller coaster. that has people on it. Well, it looks like it has people on it, but there were no visitors last week. Fair enough. They can't get into the park. I think they must be breaking in and riding the rides. I'm not sure about how safe this is, if I'm honest. I feel like it's not the most safe thing in the world. So we'll boost it back up to speed 3. It dropped down to speed 1 automatically when the new Tsunami dropped in. We can see that we are waiting for a dead person over here. Do we have any crematoriums anywhere nearby? Not particularly. Okay, so we should probably go ahead and turn up our budget on our healthcare. We'll turn that back up, but we are definitely in recovery here. Things are improving, even if they're largely staying static financially.
Take caution and avoid roads and water.
Things are improving. My main concern at this point is as our population starts to get back up to the level where it was, or at least a somewhat sustainable level, are our services with all of these destroyed service buildings going to be anywhere near up to scratch? And I think the answer to that is probably no. Who needs safety? Just float your car over there and ride the rusty roller coaster. That sounds right. I mean, at this point, if you haven't replaced your car wheels with paddle wheels, I don't know what you're doing. Like, that's how this is gonna go.
Take caution and avoid roads and water.
Okay, where's that tsunami hitting now? Over here? Okay. It's not gonna do much over here. It's super weak at this point. Like, it's mostly just flowing between here. Yeah, it's super weak at this point. So no real concerns there. That tsunami wasn't a major problem. I can't believe if we're having this problem now, I can't believe that we went like 24 years. Well, like 20 years without major tsunami problems. But okay. So this up here is all looking good. This is actually developing up nicely. Very nicely. We're going to continue to get rid of some of this stuff over here. And we're at minus 41k right now. That's not hugely shocking. This is encroaching, but it is now flowing back. So all things considered, this is going reasonably well. We'll get rid of some rubble over here. And all things considered, our rubble content of our city is actually dropping. We're at maybe like 70% rubble content at this point. In some locations, it's at 0%, but in other locations, it's like 90. Like this down here, and this whole mess over here, of course. So we will continue to, in fact, I should probably rename this. Let's go ahead and put in a district here. And rather than naming this after a channel member, like I have been doing, we're just going to put in a district up here. Perfect. And I'll just fill all of this in. There we go. And we are going to not call that the Highland District. This is going to be the Wavebreaker District. Perfect. That is the district that breaks the wave for every other district and makes it less powerful. Cool. So our area up over here needs to continue to have rubble removal services done. Garbage is piling up. I'm not super shocked about that one. Our garbage processing is not great, and that's because most of our waste processing complexes are currently destroyed. So that's a thing. And we can't really get that back. So it is what it is for right now. Get out of here, Twitter. Thank you. Have you noticed that there's an abandoned building in the city? Why, no, I hadn't noticed that. I'm shocked. There's a lot of searched areas over here now, though, and that's really, really good. That means that we can come through here and delete a whole lot of rubble. And that will help land values, as well as make it more possible for people to move in. I deleted a section of road. Okay. Gonna have to try to remember where all of those sections of road that I deleted was so we can put those back. But for now, it's reasonably okay. Cool. And we'll get rid of these. Yeah, quite a lot of rubble removed on this pass. I like it. We've still got survivors, like 3-4 years later. We're getting a lot of searching done on this island now. It was prioritizing searching other islands previously for quite a while, but we're definitely getting searching done over here at a pretty rapid pace at this point, so that's great. Oops, I didn't mean to delete that. We're at nearly double our population that we were at when we started the stream. So we're now up to about 20K. That's fantastic. And all we're doing is rubble removal at this moment. That's the whole thing. Okay, there's a lot of rubble to be taken out up here. We're definitely searching a lot faster all of a sudden. I wonder if our search and rescue is part of the fire budget. Okay, we're going to get a meteor. And that could itself create a tsunami. We'll see where it hits. We don't have any way to predict that. Okay. Well, we might be saying goodbye to this waste processing complex. Yep.
A meteor strike has occurred. Avoid the impact.
Okay, so the game is really, really mad at us. There's no doubt about that. A giant meteor then hits the city, too. Okay, so this tunnel was taken out. We can't really do anything about that. I'm going to turn off disasters, because at this point, if this keeps up, there's going to be no way to recover. We're going to get a pretty good tsunami out of that because it managed to hit partially the water. And that's going to hit up over this direction. Luckily, it's not going to hit too hard over here. But, yeah. Let's turn those disasters off. The game has really decided that it hates us. Okay, so we're going to do all of this. We have no real way to get that garbage processing facility back just yet. Yeah, I don't think God wants them to live here. That's what it feels like, all right. But, let's turn that off for now. There's been enough disasters. At least it chose a different disaster other than a tsunami, but it chose a disaster that creates a tsunami. So, yeah. That's the thing. The good news is we're getting a lot of rubble searched. The bad news is we need crime and garbage processing over this way. So that's all going to be a thing. We are currently negative in our population, and that is because we are dealing with the after effects of the meteor. But let's just get all of this searched up. I'm definitely very concerned about our garbage situation. That's for sure. Well, let's go ahead and bring this back up to speed 3. And we'll see what ends up happening over here. There was definitely some damage here, and this highway being destroyed is actually a big problem for us. Can we repair highways? Not, well, bankrupt. Okay. So they just can't come into the city this way anymore. They'll have to find a different way. These guys will eventually despawn. And that's fine. We now have our secondary tsunami hitting up over here. It will be fairly weak at this point, so it's not going to do too much. But it will do some damage. Okay. And that was even with disaster frequency turned down. We still had 2 disasters spawn in the last, like, couple minutes. Yeah, let's keep those off for the time being. Okay, so we're going to make our way up over this way. Cool. The game has really decided it doesn't want us to recover this, but That's fine. So we'll get rid of a lot of our tourism district over here. Our tourism trap. And that will start rebuilding eventually, but we will need to get our hands on, well, time more than anything. We need time. We do not need this power line, I can tell you that. And we can rezone that if it dezoned. It did not, but I'll just do that, because I think there were a couple of areas that I didn't have dezoned as it was. So that's okay. I accidentally deleted the wrong building there, but it's okay. We will continue to clear this rubble out. There's a lot of it still, and there will continue to be a lot of it for a while yet. Apparently ducks are awesome, according to Twitter. Thank you, ducks. I mean, we've got lots of space for ducks, that's for sure. We are up over 20,000 at this point. Now, this is not enough to make us profitable, but it's a good start. That is definitely a step in the right direction. Okay, we'll get rid of a few additional searched locations out here. And our disaster response units will be done with this searching, I think, not too long in the future. Like, we're making good progress on this. We're getting a lot of searches done. So that's great. Okay, we'll head down over here now and look at getting some of these searches finished up. And even once we hit positive in our finances, it's still going to be a while before we are able to actually get out of debt. So that's going to be interesting. We are going to have our 2 loans that we have being repaid somewhat soon, I think. It's been a while. Will the rebuilding on the whole map zoning cause huge gaps in your electricity grids? Maybe. We're hoping it doesn't. We are hoping it does not. That's kind of the point of having it rebuild piecemeal like this and leaving a lot of these structures, because if we look at our electricity, like down over here, these are still propagating the electricity grid, and so I'm trying to build it up like a little bit at a time and not have the electricity grid be too taxed. That's the idea here. So hopefully that will be the case. We've got a fire down over here, but I mean, we do have fire helicopters, and fire trucks will get there eventually. But it's going to be a ways. It's going to be a ways. Our tunnel up over here being broken is not the biggest of deals. That was pretty much only the tunnel that connected here and provided a bypass, so that's reasonably okay. These guys are going to stick here for a bit, and there's not too much they can do about that. Cool. So we will continue to remove rubble here for a bit. There are still survivors, and these survivors will need a place to live. So we're working on it. Okay. Just trying to... It's good that this is, like, basically random, that this is finishing up, because that allows us time to rebuild structures here and propagate the electrical grid, and that should make this fairly simple to rebuild, in theory. Turns off disasters, game starts fires instead. Yup. Yep, the game has decided it absolutely despises this city for some reason. But honestly, I'm not shocked that there's fires down there. That's because there aren't nearby fire stations, or there are, but they're collapsed. And we can't rebuild them because we have no money. So that's going to be... I was going to say reasonably fine. I got rid of another road there because I'm dumb. I was going to say that's reasonably fine. It's kind of not reasonably fine, but... let's go ahead and make our way up over here. Cool. A lot of rubble has been removed at this point. Things are definitely improving. I don't really want to get rid of these abandoned buildings at this time because they are propagating the electricity grid. So for now, all I'm interested in doing is getting rid of the searched rubble. We are almost up to 21,000, although we are currently losing population. And the reason for that, I believe, is sickness and garbage. I mean, we have brought our budgets back up, but it's just distance, right? Well, we can actually bring up our garbage budget again. There we go. But it's still going to be a distance issue, more than anything. We'll see if this is even possible to bring back, but I suspect it is my theory. As we continue to search these, we will continue to get additional population back. I would like to see our population growing slightly. Maybe a slight taxation drop would incentivize move-ins? I don't know. For now, this might be okay. We'll get rid of some of these Twitter messages. Excellent. Okay. And I'm wondering if some of that drop-off, well, it's certainly going to be issues out over here, right? We need garbage out over here more than anything. And originally, that was... Let's see. That's an elementary school. This waste transfer facility was, I think, what was responsible for that. We can't rebuild it at this time, of course. That's fine. Ah, disaster response unit there. Sure. Okay, well, we will continue to remove these. We're back to positive in our population, so that's good. This garbage issue out over here will continue to be an issue. Garbage will be a problem. We've lost a lot of our garbage management facilities, and we simply cannot rebuild them. So that's definitely an issue, but we have gotten a lot of rebuilt properties over here. So that's good. We would definitely like to rebuild all of these infrastructure bits. That would be nice. But for now, I'm reasonably content with what we've got going on here. Now, I believe it is possible to go into mod settings, and, well, we would probably... I think it is possible at this point to load in a mod, and we'd have to go back to the main menu, I think. But we could load in a mod that allows us to spend while we are negative, but I would prefer not to do that if we can get away with it. And my rule on that would be we're only allowed to rebuild. We're not allowed to build new things, but I would prefer not to do that if we could at all help it. Let's get rid of some of this rubble and have our land values come up. And hopefully convince people to move in. Trust me, there's not going to be any more tsunamis or meteors until I turn disasters back on. And then there will be like 70 of them in short succession, apparently. Well, we're just going to continue to eliminate these, and we're getting to the point down here where most of the rubble is either municipal structures or is dealt with. So that's good. We're down to almost 6 million in terms of our debt, which is a lot, to be sure. But it's not an insurmountable amount, I don't think. I believe we're starting to see garbage trucks make their way down here. They are full, so there is that. We may want to consider temporarily bumping our garbage budget up to 150. We can't really afford it, but I also feel like we can't really afford not to do that. We've got some sickness and dead people over here too. We do have ambulances coming out here, and hopefully they'll deal with some of that. We have a hospital up over here, so... And there's only 11 ambulances in use. Hopefully our hospital will get that handled fairly soon. But we're going to continue to remove this rubble over here. There we go. Not much rubble left up over this way. So that's great. So I accidentally deleted a house there. Not what I meant to do, but that's fine. Yeah, we've definitely got our rubble in much, much better situations over here. So that's good. A lot of this has been rebuilt. Not all of it, to be sure, but a lot of it. So let's come down over here. Yes, I'm aware there's a million abandoned structures up here. And we'll just leave the abandoned structures. I don't know what I deleted there. I think it was like a fire station or something. It was entirely accidental. Did not intend to do that. But we'll get rid of a bunch of this over here and get our tourism district hopefully back online. Do we have any tourists coming in? No, I'm not shocked by that. Tourists currently aren't very happy with what we have to offer, which is a whole lot of rubble. Cool. Okay, we'll get rid of additional rubble up over here. And we don't have any demand at this moment, but that's reasonably fine. So we are going into debt faster and faster right now, but that's just because we are attempting to counteract our garbage issue by sending out more garbage trucks. Because it's more of a problem of distance at this moment. Okay, so we've got more structures that we can rebuild over here. Cool. Starting to get our industrial area back online. That's great. That will give us some exports and some places for our people to work. Okay. That was a waste transfer facility. Definitely not what I was going for, but sure. Okay. We can always rebuild that later. I hope. I hope we make it out of debt. It'd be sad if we didn't, but oh well. So we'll get rid of that building, and other than that, our rubble is getting much better. We're down to like 30% rubble content in the city now, I think. We've got some rubble up over here still. And let's get rid of that. There we go. And apparently that section of road, because I'm dumb. But we'll just continue to do this. I wish there was a Control-Z for those demolitions. That would be nice. But sadly, you can't undo it. Okay. Cool. So a little bit over here as well. But broadly speaking, our rubble is getting way, way better. This area still has a lot of rubble, but most of it has been searched. If not all of it. I actually think all of it was searched. Cool. So yeah, things are definitely looking better for us at this point. We're at 24,000 populace, so we're at about half of what we ended at in terms of population. Cool. Getting rid of a few more rubble piles here and there. Where's everybody gone? Abandoned buildings everywhere. Well, they probably drowned in the tsunamis, of which there have been like 5 now. Okay. We're going to finish off getting rid of these rubble piles. Cool. Okay, there's that reasonably dealt with. The Casserole district still has a few in it. So we'll get rid of those. There we go. Excellent. So, broadly, that's our rubble fairly done. It's not 100% done. But most of the rubble is gone now. So that's excellent. Okay. Any more out over this way? Not really. Is that all of it?
Jazz. What's not to love? You got your
I
trumpet.
think that might be all of it. No, there's a little bit out over here yet,
This is all that.
but I think it's certainly all searched. Cool. So this highway needs to be fixed, obviously. This is certainly an issue. We're down to only losing 28K right now. That's fantastic. How are we doing on our garbage out over here? Reasonably, I would say. Okay. So at this point, we are mostly just waiting for populace to move back in. That is most of what we've got going on here. And then we'll rebuild our structures. There's a lot of abandoned structures out over here, and I'm going to leave those for the moment. This is our tourism district, and I don't want it to have electrical issues. So we're going to leave our abandoned structures here. If they want to tear them down and build a new structure, that's fine. They can do that. But for now, that's going to be the case. Okay, so we're at about 26,000 now. And that's excellent. Things are definitely improving. Let's take a look at our loan situation here. Okay, so we have 60 weeks and 312 weeks left on these loans. That's fine. They will eventually get paid off. City needs more power. Okay, so the reason for that is, of course, our budget. We're going to need to crank up our power budget, and I'm going to bring that up to like 60% for right now. We'll see how that goes. Wait, what was that at 97? Apparently this got changed at some point. Okay, there we go. So we'll crank that up and see how that's sitting. Yeah, we don't need to bring that up to 100. Why must there be so many public transport vehicles everywhere? We have exactly 2 ferries, I believe. There aren't a lot of public transport vehicles. There's a lot of cargo ships. That's for sure. Okay, so there's some crime out over this way and some garbage up over here that needs to be dealt with. And apparently crime is very high out here too at our very popular with criminals coal power plant that doesn't have any coal. Okay. Well, that's fine. We're almost up to 27,000 populish. Populish? Apparently it's populish now. We have 27,000 populish, and we need to get some rebuilding done. But that will take some time. We're at about 7 million in debt, and we are at about 35,000 negative currently. So as long as our populace is increasing here, that's absolutely great. This is, of course, a bit of an issue, but it's a little difficult to get out there, and we need to have some of these things rebuilt to probably have service there. So that's fine for the moment. We have no traffic issues at the moment. Not that we could necessarily fix our traffic if we wanted to. Let's look at our spaghetti intersections. They look fine, actually. They're doing just fine for the moment. And given the fact that we have like half of our populace, that's not shocking. That is not at all shocking. I would love to repair these roads. That would help us pretty dramatically. But for now, it is what it is. This over here is going to be ticking along pretty nicely. There's very little that was actually destroyed over here that couldn't be easily rebuilt. So this is going fine. Like, we should have a fire truck here quite quickly. Somewhat quickly. There it is. Yeah, it's fine. Out over here is okay. We do have these that we can demolish. These apparently can't be reached. Or that's a road there. Yeah. So we need to repair these roads. But for the time being, this section over here is ticking along nicely. The question is, can that carry this? I don't know. Our services down here took a beating. There's no doubt about that. We do have a waste collection truck here, but it's full. We have another waste collection truck here. It's full too. So things are going to be kind of grim out over this way for the next little while. We're not currently using any vehicles or helicopters here. We may actually want, at this point, to remove this structure. That will save us some money, and we no longer need it to search this area. So there we go. We'll get that done. And we can save a little bit of money here as well by getting rid of these power lines. There we go. And we'll just make sure that's zoned up. Fantastic. I didn't necessarily mean to zone all of this. Okay. Cool. As long as our population is positive, we're happy. I'm wondering if this power line does anything right now. I think it doesn't. I think it's a vestigial power line. So I'm going to get rid of it. That will save us a tiny amount of money. This power line does do things. So we do need that. This power line does things for now. This power line does as well. Okay. This power line is not connected. And it doesn't need to be. We'll get rid of that, save a tiny amount of money. Extremely tiny. How much are we saving from these? Like 50 cents a week per cell. It's not much. Not much at all. But every little bit helps at this point. Here's another couple. Get rid of that. Cool. Looking for additional vestigial power lines. I'm not immediately seeing any major ones. Unless this is connected up here, which it is not. Okay. This doesn't need to exist up this way. Cool. We can prune that back. We can prune this a little bit as well. Emphasis on little. This is some awkward angling, but that'll do just fine. And this doesn't actually have to exist anymore. Cool. So that'll save us some cash. We could potentially do the same thing with water. That's even cheaper, though. So I don't think there's a huge amount of point in that. We're down to minus 32, but we are almost up to 30,000 populace at this point. So things are rebuilding. The Casserole district is nearly back to normal. So that's great. The tourism district is still pretty grim. But our tree district is basically back to normal as well. So that's cool. We could try to crank taxes a little bit up to like, let's try 13 across the board. We're not going to get, well, we're going to get some from the industrial zone, but we can try 13% and see who complains. We'll bring those up. And we are immediately seeing pretty major gains from that. Let's see, that is low land value issues. Okay. I'm not seeing any major tax complaints at the moment. There will be some, I'm pretty sure. Let's bump it to 14 across the board for right now. That will almost certainly create complaints. But what I want is to get positive in cash right now. It'll take a long time to get us actually out of debt here. A very, very long time. Okay. That's looking good. Let's try 15. I think I'm going to leave it at 15%, and if we don't see complaints, we might just permanently leave it there. But otherwise, we'll just try to make our way out of this debt issue, this debt crisis that we've got going on. And for the time being, people aren't too upset about it. Fire down here. Here comes a fire truck. And additional fire trucks and a fire helicopter. Cool. There is some demand for residential right now. I feel like they've still got places they can expand over here, so I'm not too concerned about that. But we've broken 30K. Okay, here's a tax complaint. For now, we may only drop taxes on dense commercial. And we'll see what happens there. Yeah, there's tax complaints here. And up here. Yeah, I'm not surprised that there's tax issues going on. I'm going to leave this where it's at for the moment, just to buy us a little bit of time. And then once these turn red, we're going to drop it back to 12. And that's just cutting the bleeding a little bit. Cool. Do we have any policies that we can drop off as well? We are running Industry 4.0. But that doesn't actually cost us anything. Okay. Good to know. So for the time being, we're going to sit here at 15%. And that does definitely put us in a much better situation as far as finances go. Ideally, we'd like to sit at like 17%. That would put us positive. This is going to cause some major upset people. There's no doubt about that. Okay. For now, we are starting to see these turn red. So I'm going to drop our taxes for now for industrial. Actually, I'm going to leave it for offices. I'm going to drop it for industrial and for commercial. Okay. Offices, we are seeing some pretty substantial complaints as well. I mean, we're expecting to want to take this back to 12%, right? And we don't have any light commercial and we don't have any light residential. For now, we can leave our... Yeah, we really do have to drop it. We're starting to lose populace over it. Okay, I just wanted to experiment with that. Cool. Okay. So we'll just chill here for the moment, and we are starting to see our population go up again. Perfect. Minus 34,000. I would really like that to be a lot lower. A big part of that is our garbage budget. Now that we've caught up a little bit, we can try dropping our garbage budget back. And I expect our garbage problem to get worse again. But for the short term, that might be okay. When we look at how much we're actually gaining in terms of populace right now, I think that's reasonably fine. Yeah, we're currently at like minus 20. And at this point, I think I am going to give ourselves a 1% tax raise across the board. We're going to sit at 13. And hopefully we won't have too many people complaining for a while. But we need to start getting positive in our income. We're at minus 8 million right now for our debt. It's extreme. And we have loan debt. So that's something to consider too. We've got 24 weeks and 276 weeks left here. Garbage is piling up. Maybe a new garbage handling facility. That would be a nice thing to build. Sadly, we can't do that. We have some garbage handling, and it'll have to be enough for right now. We're at 32K, so we've more than tripled our population since we started this stream. That's nice. That's very, very good. But can we get out of debt before we run into too many services issues? That's the question now. That's the question. So one thing we might want to do, actually, Slightly reduced garbage accumulation, slightly reduced tax income. We might want to enact recycling here. Just to reduce that. I'm not sure how much it's going to slightly reduce our income from taxes. We'll see. 20K? I mean, if we can get away with having our garbage be where it's at right now, or very close to it, then that's worthwhile. So minus 21. Not too bad. Can the health budget be halved? It might take you out of deficit. Yeah, the health budget is something that definitely can be worked on. We had it halved, and then we brought it up because we were having a bit of a health crisis. I'm going to try it at 75 here. It is a lot going into our health budget. That's for sure. So we'll try bringing that down. Being out of deficit would be very nice. No doubt about that. We do currently have demand for industrial, but we do have some abandoned structures over here. I mean, we can get rid of those. And some of that industrial demand will get filled. Some. But we would like to have more industrial. Now, one thing we could do is have some, like, offices out over this way. We don't have any power over there, but we do have water. That is an option. A big demand for industry or offices right now. And I think satisfying that demand would be very smart. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to allow residential out to here. Like that. And then we're going to allow offices here. Although this will likely get rezoned later. We're just using this as a conduit to build power out this way. Okay. We can zone. We cannot build power lines. Cool. So I think the health budget would need to come down further. We can try bringing that down to half and see if we have any runaway issues with that at this point. We could also think about potentially putting in a health policy for that. Let's see here. I don't know what that policy would look like. Like a smoke detector distribution, but probably not. Pet bans, no. I think it's okay for now. Okay. So we need to continue to zone offices, like in a line up this direction. There we go. And the purpose of that is just to act as, like, just to act as buildings. Not buildings. That's not the word I'm looking for at all. Electrical conduit. But I'll just have this whole thing up here be zoned. Kind of like that. Cool. And then that'll stretch out over here, and then we can develop this area out here into actual office space. We might rezone that a little later on, but for now, that's okay. Cool. So we're negative in people right now, but I do expect that to change soon. We're not seeing significant tax complaints at 13. Like, at all. But there's definitely a lot of dead people piling up. So, I feel like we need to bring our healthcare back up because that also gives us our hearses for picking up dead people. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to try bumping our taxes to 14 and see if we see complaints. I'm going to leave it not at 15. I'm going to leave it at 14 for a while and not bring it up any more than that, I think. I do expect that we see some pretty significant complaints from that at 15. It might be relatively minor for the moment at 14. But yeah, we definitely need to have our healthcare up. Did I not up that? I did. Okay. Just wanted to double check that. And the tax raise does offset that. Okay. We just won the Most Attractive City Award. Oh, okay. We have large piles of rubble, but sure. Yeah, I'm not surprised by taxation complaints out over here. So we can drop that back down to 13. It seemed like it was relatively stable at 13. Yes. Relatively stable at 13. Cool. So we've got a bit of a picking up dead people deficit right now. And it's a pretty major one, actually. But we're working on it. We will work our way through that. We are up to about 34,000 populace at this point. Minus 8.2, which is a little grim, to be sure. But luckily, our offices are doing the trick up over here. And that puts us with a good power corridor up over here. Now I'm going to finish zoning this area residential. We don't really have too much residential demand for right now, but I will zone that for the moment. I'm still expecting a lot of our residential development to fill up, and like we're probably not completely full on a lot of these households here, like 12 out of 16 here. Yeah, so that's fine. Okay, let's take a hard look at our budget. What can we get away with dropping at this point? I think we can drop our garbage budget, hopefully, to about 90. And I think we can get away with dropping our water budget to at least 80. That'll help. I think at this point, our nighttime healthcare budget can drop. Something like this. Okay. So we're going to bring these back up as we can. But for right now, it'll look something like this. We're at the max tax level that we can get away with. Let's take a look at our let's take a look at our garbage here. Okay. Garbage processing status isn't great, but we knew that. Electricity is okay. Water is okay. So at this point, our rebuilding is going quite well, all things considered. We need to come out of debt. That is our top priority at this point. So this weekly income number, that needs to be positive. And how are we going to go about doing that? No taxation complaints out over here at this moment. For the time being, I think our primary focus still needs to be on just bringing our population back up to pre-multiple tsunami levels. That's our primary goal right now. I'm noticing some crime out over here. Police are at full budget, so I don't think that's going to be a huge concern. That should, in theory, get taken care of. And the way this is going to work right now is we are cleaning up all of those dead people in the day and then letting them accumulate at night and then cleaning them back up again right now. That's the way that this is working, in theory. Now, I do have the day-night transition turned off because YouTube, like, crunches down dark colors and it's hard to see at night. But we are currently in the day here. You can see the time of day over here. Cool. So our deficit is increasing a little bit right now. I do definitely want to get this area zoned up for offices. So we'll add in a little bit over here. We do have all of this pre-watered, but I'm just going to get all of this done. There we go. As long as we have job support, that will drive people moving in. And people moving in will drive tax increases. And tax increases will drive getting out of debt here. So I'm going to do the same thing, I think, for garbage. We're going to drop our garbage down to 50% at night and leave it at 90% in the day. I'm also going to drop this down to 90%. Fire down to 90. And police, 50 at night and 90 in the day. Okay. I know that doesn't make much sense in reality, but with the way that this game works, that should be fine. Cool. So that'll save us some money, especially at night. Currently, we are down to minus 8,000, 8,500. And honestly, considering it's daytime, that's not too bad. Now we are losing population for a bit here. And I'm hoping that that will not continue. Our citizens are unhappy. I would love to rebuild some of our services. Okay, is this going to turn back around? Yes. No. I will happily pay some extra taxes if we can get the industrial waste down. Well, that's kind of the idea. I mean, this is our industrial district up here. We need to get our services rebuilt eventually. And that's the main concern right now. What is up with our garbage collection service? Well, we don't really have one, is the answer. It's stretched very thin right now. We are recycling, and that will help matters. But we're at about 35,000 populace right now, and we need to bring this back up. It's raining right now, which will help this fire situation. Here comes our fire helicopter. Looks good. I'm not sure where the nearest fire station here is, but at this current moment, it's very far away. It would normally be here. But, yeah, it kind of doesn't exist. Okay. Dead people pickup is going to be a continual issue for us for a little while here. There is some demand right now for residential. And I'm just going to zone this entire area over here. Cool. We do want to get that developed eventually, and I'll zone this as well for now. We want to get this developed eventually, but for the time being, we need to pull out of deficit. Where else can we make cuts? I feel like we can drop our water budget a little bit. That's not a huge benefit to us. And I'm going to drop this down to 85 and fire down to 85 as well. Okay. And garbage down to 85 too. We need to go positive, and we need to go pretty significantly positive, because we need to get out of debt, and that's going to be exciting. I've dropped the water budget slightly too far, it looks like, so we'll bump that up to 76. There we go. Cool. But that was so many disasters in a row, and big disasters to boot. So we are definitely going to hold off a bit as we attempt to recover. We're positive in our population for the moment, but not tremendously positive. We're at almost 35,000. I would love to bring up our taxes by one more rung. And I think we can maybe get away with that for residential. But probably not for any of the others. So let's bring that up and see if we can get out of deficit. We are losing population at this moment, and that's probably to do with taxes. Not seeing any taxation complaints, though. That brought us closer to getting out of deficit, but I want to trial something. If we do that, what does that do to our population? I mean, obviously our income is awful. It's still negative. Okay. You still have lots of industry demand. Yeah, I see that. I'm more concerned right now about getting this up to 14 again. And then we are going to zone more up over this way. More office space up here. That'll do for now. Now, I don't know how educated we are, so I just don't want to pollute this area is the main thing. So we'll zone that area for now. And this is rebounding very quickly. so that's good to know. Okay, we're coming back up in our populace for now. And our income is actually very close to coming out of deficit here. That's very good. Why isn't the local government doing anything to stop the fires? The local government is $8.6 million in debt right now. Oh, they have a, right, because we're at 14. We need to drop it to 13. That's where we wanted that at. Okay. The local government is slightly in debt. I'm wanting to drop additional budgetary things. I'm going to bring police down to 75, although police are pretty cheap. I'm going to bring fire down to 75 as well. And I'm going to drop healthcare to 75. We're getting close at this point. Garbage to 75. Yes, we're going to have services issues. Okay. Man, that's so close. Once we are positive, then we can start cranking some of this back up, which would be good. But that's fine. Okay. What else do we want to cut here? I mean, honestly, I feel like we cut garbage even further and healthcare if we can get away with it. We can't get away with cutting water any further, but healthcare is our biggest expenditure by far right now. And we'll drop that down. And our populace is crumbling. I'm not hugely shocked by that. I'm just checking what we've got here. Honestly, it's not making a huge difference. And I feel like we need to bring this back up to like at least 85. Fire, I think, is okay at 75 for the moment. Bring this back up to 85. Kind of like that. Cool. They're upset about abandoned houses. We can work on that a little bit, but mostly what we've got right now is actually a pretty major police issue. We should crank up our police budget. Police isn't that expensive. We're not spending that much on police. So we'll send out more police cars. That's fine. We need populace more than anything at this moment. Apparently these structures burned down. Not super shocked about that. But this is what I was concerned about, was that we would hit a point of equilibrium where we needed more services to expand, but we can't build more services because we are below the deficit line. That was what I was concerned about here. We're very close, though, and I think we can maybe get away with it. What happens if we do a tax raise via this? Via city policy? What happens if we do that? Let's try it. We put in a tax raise here. Like so. Is there no tax raise for industrial in this? Apparently not. But I'm seeing if that gives us the issue with people being overtaxed or not. That did put us positive. So that's absolutely huge. But I believe our taxation here is still considered to be 13%. So, okay, we are seeing it down here. Okay. I was afraid of that. It would have been kind of broken, in my opinion, if it worked that way. But we can back that off. And that puts us, we're just so close to being positive. So close. Once we're positive, we can start bringing up our service levels again. But right now, there's a little bit of a vicious cycle going on. So what we need, I think, more than anything is further expansion. We need to expand our offices down over this way if we can. So we'll go ahead and do that, and hopefully there will be some demand there. Hopefully. What we really need is to get all of these back up. We need our deficit gone. So that's the big struggle at this point. And of course, out over here, there's a million abandoned structures. That's to be expected for now. So we are starting to expand our offices out over this way. And we are growing a bit in population, but really we're stagnating at around 35,000. That's what's going on here. So, the question is, are there any policies that we can do here that would save us additional money? I mean, education building upkeep minus 50%. We could do that. That would save us a decent amount of cash. Increases all residential tax income by 5%. We can do that too. It'll reduce their happiness and increase the crime. But for the moment, that might be what we need to get out of deficit here. There's recycling plastic here. I don't think that's too useful for us for the moment. No free public transport for the moment, for sure. What else can we do? That gets us pretty close. Raise public transport ticket costs. I mean, there we go. And we should definitely prefer ferries. Cool. Okay. So we're sinking in populace again right now, and that's not super shocking. Like I said, we've been floating at around 50 or 35,000. This will start to not drop as much soon, and then it'll start to go back up to 35,000 based on what we've been seeing previously. So we're so close at this point. We just need to crack this. We need to figure out exactly where we can get away with being. We can maybe drop our fire budget even a little bit more. Can we drop our electricity budget at all? Maybe a little bit. Same with water, but there's not a lot that we would end up making from that. Could drop this to like 55 and see how that goes. And then drop this back down to about 70 and see how that goes. Where else can we save money? Well, we're still paying a lot on our ferries. Let's take a look at our ferry lines here. Hop in here. Actually, lines overview. Okay. So we only have the one vehicle on each of these. And that's because they're at 5% vehicle count modifier. Yeah, it's tough. We do need more power. So we do have to increase our power budget slightly. We'll try 56.
It's a trick question. They all fit because they all have jazz in their names. Anyway, thanks for getting in touch.
Okay.
More of the best funk and jazz is coming your way.
We need a little bit more water budget as well. So we'll bring this up to 71. I think we need a little bit more still. So it looks like we need to bring this up to 72. Still need more. Okay. And it's mostly just because of sewage. Sure. So we'll bring that up to 74. Well, that helped. But it's going to have to go back to 76. Sad. Okay. So what else can we do to make money? Let's see. I don't think a smoking ban would increase health, but decrease happiness. That's fine. I mean, our global happiness is reasonable, it seems. So we'll do a smoking ban to improve health, and with that, we may be able to drop down our healthcare down to maybe 80%. We'll try that. What else can we do? A pet ban to slightly reduce garbage accumulation. Sure. We'll do that, and maybe we can get away with dropping our garbage down to 80%. Now, many of these things we will revoke once this crisis is over. So that's definitely something. Okay. Minus 4,000. We're at almost minus 9 million at this point. But once we're positive and regularly positive, we can start expanding this much, much better. Okay, so about 3,000 is what we need to save here. Let's try trimming we'll try trimming 2% healthcare, 2% garbage, and 10% police. And we can start bringing these back up relatively soon. Okay. 1.5, 1.3, 1.1, 1.0, 992, 825, 672, 534. It's close. I'm going to drop 1 more percent from each of these. That's supposed to be 77. Okay. $76. Maybe it was 77 previously. Oh, it's so close. Double digits. And back to triple. It is so close. Okay, we need to find one more small cut to make here. And that's going to be on police. We're going to drop that down 5%. There we go. Now we're positive, and now we're negative again. Okay. We're so close here. What else can we do? We can drop police down to 80. Garbage is piling up right now. Yes. I'm going to come into our taxes here. I'm going to bump up this temporarily to 14. Yes, they will complain about it. But that will put us positive. And with that positive, then we can start cranking some of these... We can start cranking some of these services back up towards 100%. And that is going to be huge. So what service do we need most right now? Well, we definitely want to be making money at all times. Okay. We need some police, so police are cheap. Let's bump police back up to 100% right now. We can do that right now, no problem, and still be making plenty of cash. Cool. So with police up, that will help matters. We're starting to dip negative over here, but that's because we're just hovering at 35,000. So for the moment, I feel like this is reasonably okay. How are we doing on our loans? This loan is done. This loan has 193 weeks left. Okay. So our income is dropping, and that's because our populace is a bit But that's fine for the moment, as long as we remain positive in one of these two numbers. If both of them are negative, then we're not making progress. And this is going to go negative very soon here. So I'm going to cut this back down to 90. And we just have to try to feel out some sweet spots here. Okay. That'll be fine for now. Power up over here. So we need power to be brought up in budget. Gonna bring that up by 1%. Cool. For now, that's fine. And yes, these guys over here are having issues with taxation. For the time being, we're going to leave it where it's at, because if we drop this again, we're going to have problems. But as we continue to expand out over this way, things are improving for us. That's for sure. So we'll bring in more jobs over here. And we are going to have to drop these taxes. This was always only a temporary measure. Okay. Anything else we can do here to make additional finances? Let's see. This slightly increased tax income, moderately increased tourism. Increases police budget, but I'm okay with that. We'll allow recreational use for the tax benefits. What else? I think that's about all we can do for now. We're back to positive on our populace. That's good. And I'm going to make all of this be zoned up for offices over here now. We need all the jobs we can get over here to pull people in. Our garbage definitely needs to be increased, which we can't really afford, but we will bring this up to 80% for now. The more people that are coming in here, the better off we are. So this should be zoned up. There we go. And then we'll zone up over here. Cool. Something kind of like that. So that'll bring in more people, which will increase our tax base and hopefully increase our equilibrium number here. That's the goal. But what we really need is to get out of debt so that we can rebuild our services. That's the biggest deal right now. We're so close. As this develops over here, it should improve. In theory. I'm not really feeling a huge amount of tax increase from those policies, but, I mean, well, this is getting very close. Very, very close. Let's drop this down to 70 for now. Our healthcare down. I would love to have that just at half, but for the moment, that's not really very viable. We were positive for a brief, glorious moment, but that was just because of the temporary tax increase. 13% appears to be about the best we can do right now. So there's that. I would like to build additional housing out over this direction. I want to avoid building in here for now because I deleted that road, but that's okay. 36,000, that's good. We don't have a huge amount of demand at the moment. And yeah, there's dead people needing to be picked up, and that's mostly because of our financial budget, or rather our medical budget. There's a lot of fire out over here. I expect this to actually get taken care of, even though our firefighting budget is, actually it's okay. It's at 90. That's not too bad. No, this is our firefighting budget. That's at 70. Okay, that's fine. Okay. I really want to drop our garbage budget, but we just can't. It's going to have to come out of healthcare. Which is sad. But we need this area to finish its expansion, and we need to also begin getting this area over here done. Okay. For the time being, we'll allow that to proceed and continue to expand. I'm currently wondering why our baseline population is like 15,000 below what it was before we expanded out over here as much. I don't know. I feel like that's a little strange. But sure. You could try to disable buildings instead of decreasing budget. Yes, except that the problem isn't the buildings, although this disaster response unit would be a good one to disable. That is a good call for some of these. But for the actual service providing buildings, we absolutely need them. But we can disable like this public library. We can disable our disaster response unit. We do need to increase our water budget. It looks like we'll take that up to 77. Okay. But some of these structures we absolutely should disable. I mean, this is so cheap. The waste transfer facility here stays for sure. But it is a good call that some of these do not need to be active. That is absolutely true. Okay. Looking around for other options, many of these service providers we absolutely do need. Cool. So that does pull us very slightly positive. And there's actually some demand for residential right now, which is absolutely great. We're going to fill in this over here. I think I missed a couple of cells here and there, but there we go. We'll fill that in. And that should bring our populace up, which would be great. Lots of garbage and some crime issues down over here. Once we're able to repair some of these, that would be great. This waste transfer facility would be a high priority. We're dipping negative in cash again for the moment. Let's go ahead and turn off our rides over here. Those don't need to be running at the moment. There we go. And what else do we have up here that we potentially don't need? The harbor? The harbor. We don't need tourists here right now. There's a hospital here, but that is necessary. What else do we potentially not need? Most of our ferry stops, I think, are destroyed, which means that the ones that aren't are kind of useless. So looking at ferry stops like this one, that can be disabled for the time being. We would definitely want to turn these back on later on. But we can certainly do things like that. And then there's a ferry stop up over here that can be disabled. Let's see. We've got this Ferry Depot that I'm going to turn off. There we go. Maybe delete some roads. Most of our roads are actually necessary because we are utilizing them or actively expanding to them. Okay, so I think we'll be fine, all things considered, once we... our fire helicopter depot really probably should be active. What other ferries do we have here? There's this one, but it's destroyed, so that's fine. No problem there. Nothing over here, really. That's destroyed. Okay, so how much are we spending right now on our transit? 7,728. Where exactly is that going? If we have all of our ferry depots disabled. Well, let's take a look at our transit lines. Let's see here. We can go into here, lines overview. So yeah, building is turned off. We can actually just straight up delete these lines and we can replace them later. If we do that, we're still spending 7,728 on these. Now, a lot of that is probably on our cargo harbors. Do we need the number of cargo harbors that we currently have? Probably not. I'm going to disable this one, this one, and this one for now. Okay. So we'll see if that causes any jams. But that does definitely bring up our level of income pretty dramatically. So that's great. Yes, we have low happiness, to be expected. Okay, so we're making some money. We'll see if we're positive regularly. I definitely do want to increase our garbage budget. I want to bring that back up to 100. And ideally, I would like to bring up the medical budget as well. Like this. I feel like that'll take us negative, but I want to see by how much. Can we make cutbacks on buildings to deal with that? Maybe. Let's see. I'm looking for additional options here. This cargo harbor can be turned off for the moment. Yeah, that puts us at like 10K for our deficit. That's a lot, to be sure. This hospital, I think we can get away with turning off. Probably not this waste transfer facility. Can we get away with turning off this hospital? I think we have another one out over here somewhere. We've got that university. We probably don't need that on. Okay. We'll get rid of that. Down over this way, we don't really have any service buildings that are currently functional. So there's that. I'm going to continue to zone residential down over this way. Did that not get fully zoned? Apparently not. Okay. So we'll zone residential down over this way. And try to grow our population a little bit to be able to support this a little better. What else do we think we don't need? This fire station is likely overkill for right now. I'll turn that guy off for the moment, and we can start turning these back on once we are a little bit better. Okay. There's a ferry depot here. Oh, the collapsed buildings can be turned off? I didn't know that. I just figured they weren't costing us anything. The collapsed buildings are costing us their normal amount while not functioning and can be turned off. That's huge. I had no idea. Well, now that we know that, that's going to make this a lot easier. We can just go through a lot of these locations, and this is going to be a lot of finances for us.
This is all that chance.
I had no idea that it worked this way. That's a little insane, actually. The collapsed structures should probably not cost us anything. Maybe this is only visual. We'll see. If this actually works, I'm going to be a little angry, actually. Like, that's not the way I would expect it to work. We'll see. This would be a huge savings if true. We'll just go through these and see what we can get. So that puts us decently. 5,400 per week with the waste processing complex. That alone, if this works, should bring us positive. I think it's only a visual bug in the tooltip. I think that's what's happening here. I don't think that that's actually costing us money. Otherwise, this would have brought us positive for sure. So this is all filled out at this point, and there's still a lot of demand for industrial. I'm going to have it encroach over this way. That's commercial. I'm going to have it encroach over this way. And we'll just fill out that area for the time being. Because that is very important that we continue to expand there. We are going to run out of space to expand soon enough. Okay, we need power, so we need to up our power budget a little bit. Power is not that expensive. I'm going to take it up to 60. Cool. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that turning off these collapsed structures isn't actually helping us in any meaningful way. And we need water as well. Okay, we'll turn up our water budget slightly. I'll hit that to 80%. There we go. Fantastic. So our police budget is chilling at 90. I'm going to take that up to 100 as well. And let's just go through, and this pumping station, I don't think we need that active right now. This hospital, we might want to have this one active. This firehouse I'm going to turn off for the time being. This road maintenance depot I will turn off for the time being. Road maintenance depots are not, strictly speaking, necessary. Same with, well, that's a waste transfer facility there with 13 garbage trucks out. I think we'll allow that to continue. But this university, I'm going to get rid of. We don't need to be spending money on that at this exact moment. Firehouse, we've got the elementary school down here. I'm going to get rid of this medical clinic. I don't think it's super helpful at the moment. That crematorium has full hearses out, so no worries there. This high school is full. So I think for the moment that's okay. Let's see, what else can we get rid of? What do we have down over this direction? There is that waste transfer facility. There's this elementary school up here. Okay. For now, I'm not that concerned about all that. That said, we do have private education right now, cutting our costs for education a huge amount. So I'm going to bring this back up to 100%. That's only going to cost us like 1,000, and we'll find other cuts to make. So looking down over this direction, there's a solar power plant right now over here as well. And then we've got our nuclear plant and our waste processing complex here. I feel like we need the waste processing complex for the moment. What else do we have going on here? We still have a huge amount of healthcare costs. Now, a lot of that is because of our sheer number of crematoriums, and we can probably disable some of these over here for now. We just had a huge throughput issue with them. I'm going to turn off these 3 for the moment, and this one as well. Okay. Still a huge amount of demand for industrial. We are running out of space for that. I'm going to zone this over here, but we're running out of space. We had some burn down over here. Not too shocking. And let's just see what else we have for crematoriums. Yeah, most of them are knocked down over here is the issue. I think I'm going to disable this one. Crematoriums are pretty expensive to run at $720 per week. So that should bring us at least briefly positive. Cool. Well, that's definitely a lot of cutbacks. No doubt about it. I want to check on hospital situations here now. So let's look at hospitals. Yes, we do have 2 hospitals right here. I thought that was the case. We'll get rid of this one. And as far as other hospitals go, this should be fine for now. Okay. So we'll let that go. And we're now making a decent amount. I would like to bring in a little bit... Well, actually, our garbage is fine for the moment. Okay. T-Witched, 2 pounds. Sorry it's not much. Love your content. Thank you very much for that, T-Witched. Always glad to be appreciated. Okay, we're going to bring this back up to 100%. And for now, this is all okay, I think. Yes, garbage is piling up, but we are positive at this point. So from here, we just need to bring it back. There may be additional cuts that we can make, but honestly, I think it's okay. I want our police to be at 100 day and night. I think that we just don't have a day-night cycle right now. But we're going to bring electricity up to like 63. There we go. And fire at 70 is not necessarily ideal, but for now, I think it'll be okay. Cool. So with us finally positive, we are bringing this back and paying off our debts. So that's good. This loan will be done in 133 weeks. That'll save us another 442.31 per week. So that's great. Okay. We've got all of our rubble demolished, but building it back is a whole nother story. For now, since we've got so much demand on office space, I think we're going to just zone all of this temporarily. And yeah, this road isn't fully built, but we'll just zone that like so. And not all of this got fully zoned, so that can get built up. Cool. So let this build for a bit here. And I'm hoping to stabilize at around 40,000 for right now. And then we can let this run and make some money. That would be nice. We need to get our cash. We are so far in debt right now, it's not even funny. Well, it's maybe a little funny. I'm going to turn off this medical clinic since there are no ambulances in use. Cool. And then up this way, on these islands. We've got this firehouse. I'm going to turn that one off for now. This police station. We've got a pretty big crime issue, so I'm going to keep the police station open. I'm going to turn off one of these two crematoriums, and this medical clinic can get turned off. Okay. Now, what else do we have up this direction? We absolutely need this waste processing complex. That's important. Only 3 hearses in use here. I'm going to turn this one off. There we go. Try deleting all the roads and buildings in the little islands. That will fundamentally break our services if we do this. All we're trying to do right now is make more money. These are not actually causing issues. They are helping us. Our problem right now is that we need money to rebuild our services down here. And deleting things like this will really, really hurt us. So for now, that's not a great concept. So we are positive in cash. I would like if we were able to repair this while we were in debt, but making money. That would be nice. But sadly, we can't. But this seems reasonably okay. We've got this waste transfer facility here. This hospital with no ambulances out, I'm going to turn it off. If it doesn't have ambulances out, then we probably don't need it. At least for now. That's the thing that we're going with for the moment. We're making about 5,000 at this point, and that's great. Once we can get some of these services back over this way, we can start really turning things back up. But for now, I wouldn't mind bringing our road budget back up eventually. How many vehicles road maintenance have at their disposal? Well, we've turned off all of our road maintenance right now, I think. Unless there's a couple that we have that I was unaware of. That was a waste transfer facility. I think this was a road maintenance up here that I no, this was. Okay, so that's already off. Cool. And again, I think that this is just a visual bug here. The tooltip doesn't respect whether it's collapsed or not. I'm pretty sure that's what's going on there. We've got this waste transfer facility here. That's a road maintenance depot there that needs to be rebuilt. Okay. For the time being, this appears to be reasonable. I think from here, it's somewhat safe. So that's good. I want to check in on our traffic situation at our spaghetti intersection. All good. That's not spaghetti, though. Spaghetti is up here. Yeah, this looks fine. Absolutely fine. No problem whatsoever on our traffic. Some pretty major crime issues over here, but I do believe that there's going to be a police car patrolling by soon. Cool. Garbage out over here is, of course, an issue, and we're trying not to turn off any garbage processing if we can at all help it. Processing or pickup. So that will be helpful to not have that going on. This is processing at full capacity, so we definitely need that online. This one is not at full capacity, but it is filling up. So that's good. It's not City Skylines without a spaghetti junction. Yeah, I agree. We may want to start developing some of this out here. Just as, like, our park here, I was planning on expanding it more, but obviously the disasters occurred. We may want to start developing this as additional office space. If we wanted to do that, we would need to eliminate the fence that's all around here. And we can definitely do that. I don't want to get rid of this road, but getting rid of this fence is not necessarily a terrible concept. Does that have upkeep? Hang on. No, it does not. Okay. So for now, we're just going to put in a little bit of offices up here. We definitely need more offices. There we go. And we'll redo this fence to be kind of around this park here. And I wouldn't mind changing our park. Yeah. Getting rid of some of this designation. A lot of this is unnecessary and needs to be scaled back. We're obviously not going to have this park anywhere near this big. So this area over here should be developed eventually. It's going to be a little complicated. I'm concerned about power up here, but we're actually good on that. Cool. And water is going to be a concern here as we head up this way. There's not going to be water up here. So we should actually dezone this for the time being, because we can't build water at this moment. Thank you very much for the 2 pounds, Sea Grape. Hi from Florist Club. Apparently I can't talk. Redmitten, Harlan County, Virginia. Well, thank you very much for that. That is much appreciated. Apparently talking is very difficult now, but I mean, considering what we've been dealing with, I'm not shocked about that. Crime out over here is unsurprising, but we are positive in our income, and there's just so much industry demand right now, but we can't really build it anywhere. I suppose we could build like offices out on these islands, or industrial out on these islands, since they're already polluting. This would be reasonably fine. Just do something like this. This should have power and water in all of these locations already, or close to it. So that will help us a bit. Cool. And industrial won't be too concerned about the pollution, so that's fine. Okay. We could do something similar out over here. We're just looking for scraps of locations to zone industrial at this point. That's what's happening here. Although we have managed to get rid of a good amount of that industrial demand. That's good. I'll just get all of this zoned up for the moment. And a little bit of space over here as well. These are not particularly efficient because these weren't necessarily intended to be zoned in this way. But for now, it'll do. As we work our way out of debt. We're down to 8.8 million in debt now. So that's amazing. Build Redmitten in City Skylines. I have no idea what that city looks like, and I highly doubt it's on an archipelago. So right now, it's probably not going to happen. Okay, let's look at our budget here. So things are definitely improving for us. I wouldn't mind bringing our fire up to 100% at this point. I don't think there's a need to increase our water and power more than incrementally. We could definitely get our park up. Not that we're paying much for our parks. But we could restore that. For now, I don't think restoring our ferry costs is very worthwhile. And I don't think restoring roading is either. Low happiness. Yeah, I'm well aware of that. There were a million tsunamis, and we were quite vulnerable to that. So there's a lot of abandoned structures out over here. That's fine. Things are definitely looking up for us. There's no doubt about that. 40,000 is our current population, and we're making about 8,000 a week. This is a weekly income here. We could potentially turn off our garbage collectors over here. Actually, those are pretty expensive, and we can turn those off. We're not too concerned about our pollution out over here for the moment. So that's fine. Okay. A lot of crime out over this way. There's no doubt about that. We do have patrol cars going through, but I would love to get... When we're actually able to rebuild, we're going to need to prioritize police stations, and we're going to need to prioritize not universities, not public libraries. We're going to need to prioritize getting garbage collection out this direction online too. So that will all be very necessary. For the time being, we'll just have to deal with what we've got here. I do think that I'm going to remove some of these abandoned structures for the time being, because we still can't really do too much until we come out of debt, which it's gonna be a while. But we are improving quite a lot, and at this point we're basically maximally expanded. I don't think that we're going to be able to build too much more until we come out of debt. And of course, once we come out of debt and get everything rebuilt, that's our win condition here. So it's probably not going to end up happening that we're going to expand too much more beyond what we have here. At a certain point, it is what it is. And we're reaching that point right now. So that'll be great. Garbage is, of course, piling up, and there's crime up over here and fire over here. That's all to be expected for the moment. We just need to tick along, and having some building turnover isn't the worst thing right now. We just need to tick along and get out of debt. We have made about 200,000, and that's great. We're losing population a little bit, but I'm not shocked about that, to be clear. We're going to be bouncing our population here. It's going to be fairly stable for the next little while. It's going to be up and down. I'm not going to destroy all of these abandoned structures, I don't think, because of power. That's a bit of a concern. But up over here, we can definitely get rid of those abandoned structures and free up that industrial space. We'll be losing population, and then we'll start gaining it again, and then we'll lose it again, and then we'll gain it again. There was some fire going on over here, looks like. That's fine. Not too concerned about that one. Okay. And you are not operating. Why? You're operating normally. Not enough raw materials. You produce wood. What do you need raw materials for? Oh, I guess you need, like, trees to be delivered here? We've got plenty of trees around here, but sure. I guess that's, like, wood processing that they do there. Fair enough. Water. Okay, we're having an issue with water? A minor issue, I suppose. Actually, I don't think so. I think that our only issue is that we are lacking water in some of these locations that we zoned up over here. Like up this way, potentially? Yeah. Nothing we can do about that right now. This floating garbage collector can be turned off. Those are expensive to run, and we don't need to do that right now. What else do we have? Water out over here. Nothing we can do about water for the moment. That requires building pipes, and there's nothing we can do. They'll get abandoned, and that's fine. Okay. Looking for other options here. Not a huge number of them. But that's okay. We're making about 10,000 a week now, and that's a far cry from where we were. That's for sure. We're doing a lot better on that front. This one didn't get turned off? No, it did. We're just not zoomed in enough. Okay. Do we care about having this hospital open? I think the answer to that is yes, because this one up here is closed. No, you're on. We can turn this one off. Cool. That'll save us a good amount of cash as well. There we go. And as we work our way through this deficit, we are definitely going to get out of debt eventually. So we'll see. We'll see how long this takes. But this is the reason why I ended the series, for the record. I knew that this was going to be a big undertaking. Like, at this point, we are about 10 episodes into this in terms of length. So, yeah. Me and Wildstar are enjoying your stream. Well, like I said before, I'm always glad to hear that people are enjoying my content. I don't fully understand it, but I'm glad it happens. This waste transfer facility is, I think, very, very necessary here. I keep coming back to it, and I'm like, I really want to turn that off. And then I think about it for like 5 seconds, and I'm like, no, that's a terrible idea. This ferry stop was missed at some point. Cool. This crematorium, I do think, is necessary. What else might we have up here? We could turn off this elementary school, but that's only 80 a week. I'm not too concerned about that. Like, education, since we're running private education right now, education is very, very cheap for us. So I'm not too concerned about that at the moment. There's definitely a lack of police out over here. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. All we've got is this police station here, and it definitely needs to continue. Now, I believe our jail was destroyed, was it not? Yes, it was. Our prison was destroyed. So we'll turn that off, but I don't think that actually does anything. Cool. Waste transfer facility here is important. Okay. Well, it definitely took a good long time to get our deficit turned around. Now that our deficit is turned around, I feel like this is just a matter of time at this point. We're going to have to start getting some of these buildings back online eventually. But for the moment, it's okay. And largely we're having issues. Out over here, there's some crime issues. There's some crematorium issues. I mean, we do have a lot of crematoriums out over this way that are turned off right now. So that is something we can consider, is turning off one or turning on one or more crematoriums, like this one. This would be a good target to turn on, because that will pick up a lot of these dead bodies over this way. So we'll send that out. That'll be fine. This waste transfer facility is okay. How are we doing on our garbage processing? Okay. Not too bad over there. And looking at this situation, yeah, this is holding full. That's to be expected. Not surprising about that one. This building was on fire, but I think it's already been taken care of. Yes. Cool. Okay. So crime out over here is definitely a big problem. I would love to rebuild our police station right here. That would be amazing. But unfortunately, we cannot do that at this moment. We're now making about 14,000. How are we doing on that last loan? Okay. 72 weeks left on that one. So that's not too bad. That will actually finish up relatively soon. We have been going now for, let's see, we started in 2046, September of 2046. So we've been going now for 6 years, but the recovery is proceeding. If only we had money. That's the primary problem at this point. All of this would be fine if we were able to rebuild. Not this. We wouldn't necessarily want to rebuild the road maintenance depot. The crematorium would be a good thing to rebuild at some point over here. Elementary school, not that high of a priority. The firehouse would be okay. We'd really, though, want to build a police station out here and this waste transfer facility. That would be pretty necessary. I'd love to rebuild our waste processing complex. All of that's very expensive. So that's good to know. Cool. Gonna have water issues here forever, or at least until we get out of debt. That's fine. We could turn off this park, but I feel like it's worth the $8 a week that we're spending on it, so that's fine. Waste transfer facility is okay. But yeah, we are as expanded as we're going to get right now, unless we can expand over this way. What's our water situation? Grim. Our water situation is very grim. So there's not a lot we can do other than just wait. Okay. So, how's your day going? This has been quite a thing, for sure. We got a lot of rubble destroyed. And actually, we can at this point pop over into like the cinematic cam for the moment. Although I think that lowers our speed down to speed 1, doesn't it? This looks like speed 1. At the current rate, I think it's about 2+ hours to break even. Yeah, I would agree with that. It's somewhere around there. I doubt it'll happen in this stream, if I'm honest. But we are making progress, and that's fantastic. I mean, as we continue to get some of these services back online, or not really back online, but as we're about maxed out on this, honestly. So it's mostly just a waiting game from here, I feel like. We've reached a point of equilibrium where we're just going to bounce from like 39 to 41 and back and forth in terms of our population. And our services are going to be maxed out and not really able to keep up with that, but not really falling behind either. When we fall down to 39K, our services catch up. And when we go up to 41K, our services fall behind. So we've kind of got that whole thing going on here, where it's going to be a while. And it's mostly just going to be waiting at this point. We can't really expand any further because we've reached the limits of what we had pre-built. And we don't really have demand either for the moment. There's no demand for any of it right now. So that's all a thing. That is all a thing. And at this point, I do think that it will be quite a while to break even. I would like to sit in the cinematic camera for a little while here if that didn't drop us down to speed 1. Sadly, it does. So here we are. We could go through and remove some buildings here for a bit. That'll be fine. There we go. Cool. So there's that island taken care of with its abandoned structures. And we're going to have a number of those just being abandoned because of lack of services. That's just the way it's going to be from here on out until we actually turn a profit, get out of debt. That would be nice, but for now, that's not really a thing. Some of these burned down. I do want to double check. We have all of these back at full, yeah. We don't really need to crank up our ferry budget. We don't really need to crank up any of these budgets for the moment. And I kind of expect that we're not going to need to crank any of those up if we're not going to expand, at least for a little while here. We do have some structures over here that were abandoned. That's not shocking. And a lot of structures in here. The question is, if we were to go through and take care of all of these, eliminating them, would we have electricity issues? If we did, all that would do would create additional abandoned structures over here, right? So maybe that's not the worst thing. We may be better off having higher land values out here at this point. So we can continue to go through here, and we'll have plenty of expansion opportunities in this commercial zone. It'll take a while for this to all get rebuilt. No doubt about that. But we can clean all of this up, and that'll be great. We're having no traffic issues, although we weren't really having any traffic issues until we hit like 52, 53K previously in terms of population. So that's really not going to be that big of a deal, I don't think. At this point, I kind of feel like if we really wanted to, we could just AFK this. I did not mean to delete that road. We can't rebuild it until we come out of debt. So that's another one added to the list of roads that we would want to rebuild after we come out of debt. But let's hop through here, get rid of all of this. I'm not seeing any power issues, so in theory it should be okay. And we're definitely okay with raising the land values here. I'm not sure. I know in reality, property taxes are based on your land tax, or on your land value. Is that the case in City Skylines? If so, that would increase our income by removing these abandoned structures. And that also means, I think, that that's fewer locations for our services to go to. I'm not sure if they service abandoned locations or not. Like, for example, if crime can be in an abandoned building. That's an interesting question. I definitely don't know the answer to it. Low land values out over here. And we do have pipeline problems, it's true. We just don't have fully built pipelines on all of our islands, so there's that. We've reached 41K again, and we're going to start dropping here. That's, of course, fully expected. We're just bouncing between 39 and 41. So in terms of population, this seems fine. We're stable in our finances now. And that's really, really good. Apparently we had a pretty nasty fire out over here. We'll get rid of all of that. Cool. And yeah, a lot of these abandoned structures are only being abandoned because we don't have nearby services. And that was, of course, because of the millions of tsunamis. I realize that millions is maybe a tad hyperbolic, but it's the number I'm going to go with because it's the number that feels right in my heart. Okay, so we'll get rid of all of these, and this is, of course, areas that we can expand, which is great. So that will help our demand here, but they would destroy these and rebuild them, the abandoned structures, if the demand was high enough. So there is that. We'll get rid of that like so, and there's going to be a million more of these at basically all times. So this is going to be like a game of whack-a-mole, right? It's just going to be constant, where we destroy them and they're getting rebuilt at roughly the same speed. So that's okay for now. We're now down below 8 million. So that's absolutely fantastic. But I think what I'm going to do for right now... Man, I was going to say I was going to take a quick break here and be back in a bit and leave the cinematic camera on. But again, it drops down to speed 1 with the cinematic camera. Is there an option for that? Let's see here. In-game settings. No, I don't think there is. That makes me sad. There might be a mod for it, but that sounds like work. So I think what I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to keep going through this and say, you know what? Breaks are for wimps. Who needs that? We've got some fires going on over here. We have no fire stations anywhere near this, so none of this is surprising. That would be something that we would want to build later. Okay, cool. We'll come on in over here, and yep, that all looks good. Those abandoned structures are dealt with for now. There's one over here and over here. 7.9 million is where we're at. Here's the question. Do we think that we're going to get out of debt by the end of this stream? That's an interesting question. It definitely took a little longer to get the deficit turned around than I thought it was going to. That was in large part my own fault because I wasn't turning off a lot of buildings that we really should have turned off a lot earlier. That's definitely something that I should have done. But realistically, do we think at this point that we're going to get out of debt by the end of the stream? I don't know. It's cruising along at a pretty predictable pace. 17K right now. That's not too bad. 17K weekly. It's an interesting question. Lack of people getting picked up, dead people getting picked up specifically down here. This is unsurprising. We don't have much for rebuilt crematoriums over here. In fact, you can see here we've got this one that's not built, we've got this one, we've got this one, but none of those are rebuilt, and we can't rebuild them currently. So instead, these homes will eventually get abandoned. That'll drive some people out of the city, we'll drop down to 39k, and we'll get caught up because we no longer need to clear the dead people out of abandoned structures, and that will allow us to ignore that deficit, essentially. And then we'll start to grow again because we'll have these abandoned structures, which developers will see, and they'll be like, it's free real estate. And it basically is. It basically is. So at this point, we're no longer a pile of rubble. That's nice. This is very bouncy. This is very bouncy. I do like no longer being a pile of rubble. That's always nice. But I wouldn't necessarily call this fixed, under any circumstances. This is not fixed at all. We are basically in a holding pattern at this time. However, we have stymied the bleeding, and our income is actually increasing over time. We're up to 18,000 now, so that recovery is accelerating as we get these various locations fixed up. We really do need to get this highway fixed. That would help a lot. This meteor was a jerk. An absolute jerk. There's no doubt about that one. Yes, we do have pipeline problems. That is true. So we've made back over $1 million. They're not dollars. I don't know what they're technically called in this game. I'm going to call them dollars. We've made back over $1 million here, and that's great. We're down to 7.7. And things are looking a lot better, for sure. What is our taxation at? 13 across the board. That's basically the max we can hope for. Okay. Well, we are going to come on down here and eliminate more of these abandoned structures. And we're just waiting. We need lots and lots of money. Honestly, I feel like we should have gotten some federal disaster aid from the federal government. I feel like that would have been nice, but that's fine. You should just cheat code it to break even now. I don't actually know how to do that. I think you have to go back to the menu and load it in with like infinite money. But that is an interesting point. We could time skip that because at this point, like I said, we're in a holding pattern. Things are not getting better and they're not getting worse, but we're making a small amount of money. So we could time skip it via the cheat method. I'm not 100% sure on how to do that, but that is a viable option if we don't want to sit here for like probably at least like an hour and a half at this point. That's an interesting point. We could do that. Let me make a quick save here and let me hop back to the main menu here. I'm not sure if we can do this. I may be misunderstanding how this is done, but I think you go into options under your mods here, or no, content manager. And then you go to the mods and then turn on like unlimited money, which apparently I cannot. Oh, there we go. Whoa. That is really laggy. Okay, that takes a while to load. Cool. So we turn that on, and then we load in here on the quick save. If you activate infinite money, you can never turn it off again in the city. Well, I'm not planning on returning to this after this stream. Like, this was just to finish this up. So this would just be the time skip. So I think that's reasonably fine if you can never turn it off again. I think that's okay. So essentially what we'd be doing here is we'd be time skipping this to allow ourselves to turn all of this back on, or at least to get some repairs going. So I think the rule is going to be that, and in fact, we can make a new save here. We can keep this quick save that I just made, and we can make a new save here. This would be the infinite money save, like that. So we can make a new save there and not overwrite our previous quick save. Can we rename that quick save at this point? No, but we can know it's the one right before the infinite money save. Okay, so we're not modifying this save game. We're making a new save from here, and we can make the rule be we're only allowed to issue repairs at this point until we are back out of debt or something like that. Or we could not do that. That's maybe the better idea, actually, in terms of gameplay as I think about that. But we definitely want to get this repaired. But yeah, I think at this point, the bleeding has been stopped. We have stopped the bleeding for sure. And at this point, it's a matter of time before we got it back because we were just in a holding pattern. So we bring this back. That gets our highway flowing again right away. And we're also allowed at this point, since we have the money, we're allowed to do a little bit of water work out over this direction. I'm not too concerned about making that pretty, but something like that, and then bring this out over this way. Technically, it would need to come this way a little bit too. That's a little awkward. And then this would come out over here, like that. Okay, so we just went back to infinite money here. So we're not out of debt, but that's essentially just a time skip. So that's fine. From there, we basically would have infinite money, and we can start prioritizing slowly, working on bringing back some of this stuff. So the public library is a low priority for sure. I don't know. I don't love this solution, but I do feel like just for the sake of time, it's maybe a good thing. We'll get that police station built. Okay. And we'll bump it back up to speed 3. And if I decide I just absolutely hate what we're doing here, which might happen, then we can always just revert back to that previous save. Okay, so this will need to be turned on. There we go. And that will help us pick up garbage over here. And I would also like to rebuild a crematorium over here. Now we could, because we have infinite money, we could just go through and rebuild everything. I'm not necessarily too interested in that. I still want to prioritize this and rebuild things as I feel they're necessary. This police station was turned off, so we're going to turn that back on. Cool. Something like that. Okay. I don't feel like this hospital needs to be turned on at this moment. Crematoriums wouldn't be a terrible idea, but I want to come up over here. We definitely could use some crime situations. There's a police headquarters here. So we'll get that built. And we'll just re-enable these as we notice issues. And for now, I'm not going to allow myself to build new structures because in my mind anyway, we're still in debt. So we can enable structures, we can rebuild disabled structures. But what we cannot do, or rather demolished structures, but what we cannot do is build new ones. The only exception there is situations like this, where I accidentally demolished a structure, which would be like a waste transfer facility that was right there. Fits in there perfectly. Situations like that, I'm okay with. Now, fire up over here. We definitely want to rebuild this firehouse. We've had some fire issues here. So we'll get that going. Crime out over this way. That's a waste transfer facility. I'm not too concerned about that right now. But this police station can go in at this point. Cool. So we're just going to rebuild these with restraint. I'm not going to go through and just rebuild everything. Crime out over here is not that big of a deal. Pumping services aren't important to me. A fire helicopter depot is not a bad idea, though. We have had some fire issues, especially reaching some places. Out over here, we do see some fire issues, and a firehouse out here would not be a bad idea. These are pretty cheap to rebuild, and they would cost us some. But as our services improve, you can see we have now broken through that 42,000 number. So that's absolutely great. But yeah, that's just a time skip. We got the problem fixed first and then moved over. So I feel like that's maybe less cheaty. Maybe still a little, but in reality, I feel like it's more a quality of life for the viewership experience than just sitting there and bulldozing abandoned structures for 3 hours. I don't know. That's kind of how I rationalize it anyway. So we do see a fire up over here, and building at this firehouse is not a terrible concept. So we'll do that. Any other problems that we see right now? Garbage out over this way looks like that is under control, I think. Yes. Garbage up this way is going to remain an issue for the time being because that's a long distance. We can't really go up there unless we were to, let's see, rebuild something a little closer over here. I mean, there's this waste transfer facility, but I don't think that's necessary right now. So that'll be fine. Okay. I mean, we could turn these back on, but I'm still going to be acting as if we want to maintain our non-deficit here. So that's going to be my main goal as we reestablish all of this. That's going to be making sure that we're staying positive and quote-unquote bringing our debt down. I mean, we could always repay this loan too, but I'm not going to do that either. There's only 7 weeks left on that, so ultimately I'm not too concerned about that. The income is about 1/15th per second. You could just spitball how much you spend in your mind. Yeah, that is a possibility. But yeah, overall, I think this is going quite well. We've got a fire out over this way. That is likely, yeah, there's a fire helicopter on it right now. A police station over here. Now, this crematorium is turned off. I will keep it that way. As long as we're positive in our deficit here, or lack of deficit, in our balance here. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. As long as we're positive here, I'll consider it good. If we're negative, I will take action to turn things off, even though we have infinite money on. So that's the way I think I'm going to do this. Any issues out over on this island? Not currently. Okay. Out over here, we are lacking raw materials. Turning on this cargo harbor is not a terrible idea. And at this point, turning our budget for our harbors back up is not a terrible idea either. Okay. We'll see what that does to our deficit. I keep saying that. It's not a deficit anymore. It's now a balance. Ultimately, I don't think it's going to be too bad. But we do need raw materials over here, and we'll bring some in. Okay. Over here, what are we lacking primarily? Well, we're primarily lacking customers, I feel like. Turning the harbor on would not be great, I don't think, for this exact moment. So we'll not do that just yet. Okay. I do want to get our ferry lines back active soon enough. So we'll turn this ferry on here as well. Let's go ahead and get those active for the time being. We didn't ever have one here. There was one here, which we can turn on. There's one that needs to be rebuilt here. There we go. Yes, surplus is the correct word. There we go. We'll turn this guy on and rebuild. There we go. There's this one here that needs to be turned on. There we go. We have all of our lines. Well, we'll need to redo the lines, but that's okay. A disconnected power grid? What? I don't think we have a disconnected power grid. I think we're fine on power. Pretty sure. Yeah, I don't see any issues. Okay, so we're going to continue to rebuild these for the time being. We'll get our ferry lines back online. I'm not too concerned about our jet ski rental over here, but I feel like we had a ferry line over this way somewhere. Maybe not. Let's take a look at our actual ferry lines here. Yeah, we never had one up over here. Okay, good to know. So we'll come down over this way and get this guy rebuilt as well and turn that on. Now, we don't actually have a line going through this, so that's definitely something to consider. We'll rebuild that one as well. And what do we have over this way? This one is off. We'll turn that on. We'll turn this on. And we're doing fine as far as our finances go. Sewage. Okay. Sewage. Yes. We'll turn up our sewage a little bit. There we go. Fantastic. Shouldn't be a problem now. There we go. Okay, let's get our mass transit going. So we're going to rebuild our actual lines, and we can start that like here. And then that would go over to here, here, and then around this direction in an awkward fashion. In a very awkward fashion. Around to here, and then up over this way to here. No water over there, but yeah, we will fix that in a bit. Up to here, up to here, 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 and then completes the line. I'm going to do another one going the other direction. There we go. It just didn't want to go there. Cool. So we'll head up over this way. There we go. Around over here. Yep. That's all fine. Cool. Back up over this way. An awkward detour for sure. That's also an awkward detour. I believe that was set up that way because of awkwardness with the original bridges. But there we go. Cool. So there's that line done. And with that, we should... Oh yeah, that's a lot of ferries.
Anyway, thanks for getting in touch. More of the best funk and jazz is coming.
There are a few ferries going out. I'm not going to go as many as we had previously, I don't think, but we'll get those ferries underway. And that'll be great. Cool. So, we have a taxation issue up here, it looks like. That's fine. At this point, I'm comfortable dropping back down to my normal of 12 and hoping that that doesn't put us into a deficit. Let's see what that does. Let's see. The vast majority of this is from residential taxes. By a huge, huge margin. Okay. Broadly, I think... I mean, it's still falling. But broadly, I think this is okay. Yes, this is fine. Fantastic. So we won't see any more complaints about that. Now there are complaints about jobs and businesses burning down. Cool. So there's a waste transfer facility here, but we can rebuild this firehouse to help with that businesses burning down thing. And we'll need to eliminate some of these burnt down rubble heaps. There we go. Cool. We still need some goods imported over here, but I think we'll be okay on that front in the long term. Now, there's some water issues down over here, and we can expand up this direction. As long as we're not too aggressive with it, I'm okay with it. We don't have any demand right now, so that's okay. No demand whatsoever. I wouldn't mind getting... Let's see. Police station, firehouse here. This waste processing complex is going to be expensive to rebuild. How are we doing on our waste processing? We're okay for the time being, so I'm not too concerned about that one. Okay. The park wouldn't be a bad thing to rebuild, but I'm looking at issues down over this way. The public library is low priority. We're starting to get to a position where low priority structures would be okay. So that's definitely becoming a thing. Elementary school. I think this waste transfer facility should be rebuilt. Okay. There we go. And we should probably consider getting some additional fire coverage up over this way, but For now, I'm more concerned. I don't know. I feel like maybe the infinite money was a mistake. Because now I'm just trying... I'm second guessing myself every time I spend money. Because I'm just like, I feel like I shouldn't. But at the same time, we time skipped. And we're theoretically just fully profitable at this point. I don't know. I don't know. Regardless, we did stabilize the city. So that's absolutely fine. We can go ahead and get rid of these locations. No problem there. And that's okay. We're running into some worker shortages. But we still have absolutely no demand. And I'm wondering if that's part of this, the infinite money. I don't know. We had no demand before that. I think we're just generally... we have no demand. I think that's generally what's happening here. Okay, so let's go ahead and we have a dead people pickup issue over here. We probably have a crematorium over here somewhere. Yes, here's one. So we'll go ahead and rebuild that. Beautiful. That will help pick up some of these dead people. Another one over here to help pick up some of these up over this way. That'll be fine. Apparently I relocated that firehouse, but I relocated it to exactly where it was before. So, sure. Very strange. Very, very strange. Okay, so what are we needing over here? It looks like we still had some locations burned down. So a firehouse up over here is not a terrible concept. And that's a police station. We can put in a firehouse there. Our fishing harbor could get rebuilt too. Cool. Do we need to redo its route? No. We don't. Okay, cool. So that's good to know. This medical clinic is currently turned off, which I think is fine for the moment. Mostly lack of workers out here. So what we need more than anything is population, and our population is definitely growing. This was fully expected at this point once we reached this juncture. So that's good. We'll bulldoze over here. And there's quite a number of abandoned structures up over here. I'm not shocked about that one. That's all to be expected. This is basically all just overflow out here. Okay, what is this? A waste transfer facility and a prison. I'm going to rebuild the prison at this point. We know that we had a bit of a jail capacity issue. Yeah. So that definitely needs to come back online. Cool. That's pretty expensive. Garbage is piling up. Where? Out over here? I don't actually see it other than that. So that's fine for now. As far as like a crematorium over here goes, that would be okay. That would help deal with this situation. Looks good to me. We've also got this elementary school over here, which is a low priority. A water pipe over here is fine. Cool. So that all seems reasonably fine for the moment. We've got the police station and crematorium over here that are not a high priority at this moment. Okay. As far as all this down here goes, I would like to get some of this stuff rebuilt eventually. Fire out over here is unsurprising, and I think at this point we can justify saying that we'd have 12,000 to build a firehouse. Like, I think that's definitely true. So we'll build that over here and help out with that situation. I wouldn't mind a second one up over this way, like right about here. That would be fine. Cool. Any other issues over here? I mean, there's some waste transfer issues. We could theoretically think about getting a waste transfer facility up this way and building in this road over here too. This is another one of those situations where we would definitely have this level of finances to build this. That would be 1,000? Yeah, we would definitely have that. So we can do that and zone this in. Cool. And we can also put in a waste transfer facility up here. How much are those? I think they're a little more expensive. 20,000. So we need to wait like 1 week to guarantee that we'd have that. That would be on like the 11th. It's the 6th right now. Now it's the 7th. So we would definitely be able to do this. Like, we just save that up and build it about now. Actually, one more day because of rounding. Now. There we go. So there's some garbage up over here. Sounds good. Pretty soon we're going to want to start rebuilding these. So what's the rebuild cost of this high school? 4,800. So that's like a couple of days. We'll go ahead and build that now. There we go. And yeah, we're just eyeballing it. 2,000, we get that in like a day. So we'll build an elementary school. This one we'll build in a day. There we go. This one over here, 1 day. And we're just waiting until we definitely would have made enough money to build it, is the way that I'm doing this. 8,000 for this. So that's like half a week. Something around 3 days. There we go. Cool. I'll turn this elementary school on, and this waste transfer facility for sure on. Okay. And this high school as well. Everybody's getting much happier. They're still a little bit upset about the rubble up here, but sure. We'll turn on this hospital and see how we're doing on our finances. I would like to turn on this crematorium for sure, and this firehouse. There we go. And this police station, we definitely have enough to build that. This high school is 4,800. I'll give it like 1 day. There we go. This university is 15,000, so we should give this one like a full week. That was 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, and 5 days. Okay, low happiness. Let's bring back the JJ Gamer Park. Let's go ahead and rebuild this guy. That's 1,000. We have enough to do that basically instantly. Is that the case with all of these? I think that's the case with pretty much everything here. So that'll be fine. We have enough to get all of this done. This is all very cheap. Cool. We'll turn this back on, as well as this over here. And with the JJ Gamer Park rebuilt, we should, in theory, be fully ready to get a good amount of happiness out of that. So this is currently turned off over here. We'll turn that on. And I believe we're not charging anything to enter the park right now. Let's just make it be like $8. Cool. There's a camper van. They're already attending the park again. Cool. So this disaster response unit does not need to get rebuilt. The riding stable should. And at this point, I want to turn the harbor back on and get our tourist district going again. Fishing tours will get rebuilt. The jet ski rental, the marina, and the restaurant pier. All of that gets rebuilt, as well as the sauna, the beach volleyball court, and the skate park. All of that's very, very cheap. So we'll get that all built, and we'll start bringing our tourists back in. Now that that's all recovered. What is this? A road maintenance depot. That's low priority for the moment. We're not seeing an issue with crematoriums, so that seems fine. What is this guy? Elementary school? Done. And this high school is currently off, as is this university and this elementary school. We'll turn those all on. How much is this public library? 4,400. So that's like a quarter of a week there. We'll give it 3 days. There we go. Cool. Excellent. So this island is almost rebuilt at this point. That's great. This road never got rebuilt. We'll put that back in. That's distance too short, but we'll just build it like that. Perfect. We'll get that rezoned. And what was this guy? A crematorium. Currently, we don't have an issue with a dead person pickup, so we'll pass on that one for now. We'll build the firehouse preemptively, and that's currently turned off. The elementary school is 2,000. We'll give that a couple of days. There we go. And turn that guy on. Fantastic. The public library, I will definitely build, but I'll give it a little bit before we build any more, because I feel like we've spent a good amount. Ah, power and water out over here. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to bump us back up to 100% power and water budget. I'm also interested in seeing what 100% road budget puts us at. If we get everything back to 100% budget, what are we looking at? I think we're still positive, but by how much? Let's find out. So there's that power dealt with and that water. No problem there. Actually, our funds are holding steady. No decline at all. Cool. So we're going to go ahead and rebuild this high school. There we go. And turn that guy on. Turn this firehouse on too. And what do we got here? A crematorium? I mean, those are pretty expensive to run, but honestly, our funds are getting insane. So we'll rebuild that and turn that on. Fantastic. We'll rebuild this one too. We're making a lot of money. I'm not concerned about our money income at this point. So that's great. Garbage is piling up somewhere. Up over here. So that was part of the point of this waste transfer facility, but I believe that we're actually having a garbage transfer problem. Yeah. So I think that our waste transfer facilities are filling up. 76 and 76. Potentially. So I'm going to rebuild this waste processing complex down here. That's going to cost 20,000. I'll give it a full week. That was 1 day. 2 days. 3 days. 4 days. 5 days. 6 days. And 7 days. So we'll rebuild that and activate it. And immediately its waste transfer trucks will head out. Those will head out via our tunnel here, and that tunnel connects up here. So that will immediately start emptying these waste transfer facilities. That will help out a lot up over this way. So what else do we have not built on this island? I mean, some services up over here. But for now, I think that's reasonably okay. I want to look at our waste transfer facility that we just put up. Where even is that? That's the public library. I feel like it was up over this way, wasn't it? Well, it's currently thundering. So that's cool. Okay, it's going to be easier if I just look in here. It's up here. Right. So that's got no trucks because it was full. Fair enough. So, yeah, that's going to solve this. Turning that waste transfer, or rather that waste processing facility back online. Okay, so there's that island dealt with. I want to check up over on our secondary residential island at this point. We have this crematorium turned off, as well as this public library and this university. And these two crematoriums. These two are probably overkill in reality, but I'll turn them back on. As well as the disaster response unit, we're making so much money right now that I feel like we can turn a lot of this back on. Oh, we never rebuilt this tunnel. Right. So this connected up over here and then went underground, kind of like that. And then I think there was a waste processing facility here or something like that, but we'll come back to that. That's going to be a pretty big expenditure, and I'm not too concerned about that one right now. I think it's okay. As far as this out here goes, I do think that rebuilding this firehouse is a good idea. It's nice and cheap. And this police station, nice and cheap. And this crematorium, it can service a lot of these areas out over here. This recycling center is important too. So we'll get that one done. That will clean up the garbage out over here, hopefully. And eventually we'll get this waste processing complex done. But for now, I think that's fine. A waste transfer facility here is good to rebuild too. We'll wait for about 2 more days, and then we'll build this one. Just to guesstimate the cost there. Cool. And off it goes. So we're definitely getting very close here to having all of this rebuilt and reactivated. There's still a number of things that are turned off, including this road maintenance depot that we will turn on, and this hospital that will... I don't know that it's strictly necessary, but we'll turn it on. What is this guy? That's a recycling center. We'll rebuild that. That's nice and quick. And we'll turn that on as well. And how are our ferries being utilized? Very, very heavily. That is a lot of people in line. I think it's clear that we need more ferries, and... Did we lose a power line in the storm? Yes, we did. We lost this power line. Okay, so we will rebuild that. I guess that works. We'll rebuild that, and I'm also going to build... Well, I was thinking about building a secondary power line out here. It would be pretty ugly, but maybe that's not the worst things. Like that. Just as a backup. Cool. Okay. We should probably consider rebuilding this waste transfer facility since we see a cargo harbor garbage pile up here. How much is that? 4,000. Our income has definitely dropped for the moment. But I think overall, we're okay. So we'll get this rebuilt. There we go. And I think at this point we're a higher population than we ever were previously. So that's cool. I wouldn't mind building a police station out over here. That's 12,000, so we should wait like a full week. And I would like to put that up over this direction. I guess in here would work. Okay. We'll get that going. Cool. We've got some crematorium issues over here. One thing I definitely want to do is go into our budget here. Oh, wow. We spiked back up. One thing I definitely want to do is go into our budget here and increase our number of ferries. And I also want to look at our lines and bump these up to 500%. Where's the other line? This one. There we go. 79 ferries per line. There's going to be a few ferries, but we're currently set to prefer ferries, and we definitely need more ferry throughput looking at situations like this one. It's very clear that we need more ferry throughput. That's okay. So, looking up at our tourism district here, I wouldn't mind rebuilding this road maintenance depot. It's been a little while since we've spent any money, so that should be fine. And we'll work on maintaining the roads. This is a waste transfer facility over here. We're not really seeing an issue with that. Water issues? Where? Ah, yes. There would be water issues up here. Okay. Very small amounts of expenditure there. Cool. I'll get this crematorium rebuilt. That's 5K. Easy enough. And that's this island good to go. This one, the crematorium is off. I'll turn it on, as well as this hospital. We definitely need to get some of these services back online. So let's turn on this university, and I'd like to rebuild this elementary school as well. There we go. And I want to come into our policies and potentially think about dropping our high ticket prices and our fishing licenses for now. And maybe even dropping the pet ban and the recycling and the smoking ban. Okay, we'll keep the for-profit education for now because I'm worried about getting all of our services back online. I definitely want to prefer ferries at all times. And recreational use is, I think, fine for this moment. So we'll keep that as well. Okay. So that's all rebuilt there. Nothing over here. We do have some disabled structures over here. We've got this medical clinic that we can turn on, this firehouse that we can turn on, and this crematorium as well. That will pull some stress from other crematoriums, so that's good. This commercial island out over here, the cargo harbor is turned off. We can try turning it on and rebuilding this crematorium. This road maintenance depot, I'm going to give it a little bit. We've been spending some money here. Hey, a tiny bit of residential demand, and it's gone. Okay, so we'll build that, and then we've got this police station here. That's going to be only 2,400 to rebuild. Okay, we'll definitely do that. Cool. Anything else on this island? Yes. This crematorium. 5,000 for that. I'm going to give this like 3 days. Just to make sure that we would have the money. Cool. There we go. So there's that island done. There's no problems up over here at this juncture. We have 1 million ferries, and that's always entertaining to me. Watching like 10 trillion ferries going around. This cargo harbor is currently off, and we have this crematorium here. We can definitely rebuild that at this point. And I'd like to turn this cargo harbor back on. Okay. Out in the Casserole district, there's a few things. We've got this waste transfer facility that we will definitely rebuild. I'm giving it another day here. There we go. And we've got this road maintenance depot. That's 8,000. So I'll give that like 2 days. That's 1 and 2. There we go. And then we've got this waste transfer facility here. That's 4,000. So I will give that another couple of days here. 1 more after this one. And now. Cool. There we go. So that'll start picking up some garbage out over here. And that's the Casserole district good to go. These little islands out over here, this is a pumping service. I'm not sure how useful that actually is right now. I'm actually going to delete that rather than rebuild it. For the time being, I think I would rather have this be industrial zone. And there's some wasted space there, but that's okay for now. We do have this waste processing complex, which is going to be pretty expensive, but we should get that going. Yeah, not enough fuel for our coal power plant. That's not shocking. We'll go ahead and rebuild this, but that's 20,000. So I'm going to give that a little over a week. We're just going to chill out here and take a look at our ridiculous ferries. They'll get spread out eventually. How many people are using our ferry lines? Okay, 444. It's not the best, but it's okay. So let's go ahead and get this waste processing complex rebuilt now that we definitely have the money for that. And let's turn it on. So that's going to cost us a pretty hefty chunk. But that will give us a lot more power, as well as a lot of garbage transit and garbage processing as well. The Sigma 162 Heights, we need to turn on this cargo harbor and this cargo harbor. I'm going to do both of those for the time being. And we'll see where we're sitting at here. But we have a couple structures to rebuild up here. A police station, which is 2,400, and we should have enough to do that right about now. Although our income is definitely declining. That's unsurprising. Okay. And next up would be this crematorium, 5,000 for that. Or we could come down here and build this police station, which would be 2,400. That's definitely lower. We'll go for that. Cool. Police station, road maintenance depot, crematorium, out over here. Okay. We're getting very, very close to having everything rebuilt. There's a few things down over here. Everything on this island is rebuilt. But we do have a garbage and crematorium issue here. So I would like to take a look at our waste transfer facilities here. Full, basically full, and 100% full. Okay. Well, that's mostly what needs to happen over here, is that needs to get eaten up. And having this waste processing complex online will help that. So let's give that a little bit down over here. We may want to consider an additional crematorium or two up over here. Actually, this would be a great spot for it. I'll put that in, and we're not going to build anything for a little bit then. Okay. So that will help relieve some of the pressure there. We can definitely see traffic is much lower over here now that the ferries are back online. That's great. Absolutely fantastic. So this crematorium we can rebuild. And it's basically a week's worth of income at this point because we have turned a lot more things online. So we'll give it a few days and we'll let that build. We're up to 54,000, not bad. Okay. So we'll get that built, and we've got another one down over this way. This is a police station. I want to get this road maintenance depot done, but the police station is much cheaper. So we'll get that done after this day. There we go. And we've got our road maintenance depot and our crematorium, and then I think all we need to bring back online is this over here, and potentially constructing a little bit more in terms of services out over here. That would probably be a good thing too. We definitely need to get this waste transfer facility to empty a bit. It's going into this waste processing complex. I think it'll just take a little while. But I do think another one up over here is not a terrible concept. So we should probably consider getting one up here-ish. Well, this is well serviced, actually. I don't think that's necessary. I think we just needed this guy to come fully online. I think it'll be okay once these empty a little bit. So we'll let that go for a bit. And let's come on over here. It's been a bit since we have spent any money, so 8,000 should be okay. That's about a week's income. So we'll get that road maintenance depot online. And then all we've got here is this single crematorium for 5K. Should be fine. Yeah, these waste transfer facilities aren't super in need of waste transfer trucks, but we may need to expand our waste processing. We did lose a waste processing complex up here, and I'm going to move this road maintenance depot over just this way. And then the question is, how much does it cost us to build a garbage processing complex? Well, first off, we can't build it here because of the shape of the road. So let's build the road out straight line, like that. And then we'll build it in, if we can fit it here. Let's see here. Okay, so that's 100,000. So that's quite a lot, but we can barely cram it in up here. Okay, I'm going to build that. We're not going to build anything else for a good amount of time. And this kind of curved around up over this way and went underground. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete this tunnel, though. Honestly. Okay. There we go. So with this waste processing complex online, we're going to need to wait several weeks, at least, before we are able to really justify spending any more money. So that's fine. Let's bring that up to ground level. Cool. And that should help out with our garbage collection problems out here. We just need to get our waste moved into waste processing complexes. That's a major problem there. So that's fine. I would like to rebuild this crematorium, but we need to wait since we just spent 100 grand. So We'll get rid of a few abandoned structures here. Our tourism district has developed quite dramatically, actually, and this fire station can be turned on. I didn't notice that previously. Yeah, our tourism district has developed a lot. I do want to get these roads rebuilt as I see them, so we're going to bring that in. It's a negligible cost compared to the 100,000 that we spent, so that's reasonably fine. And we'll do that. There's a little bit down here that we can get to. Cool. A crematorium over here that we can rebuild. This riding stable is turned off. We'll turn that on. There we go. I thought I turned that hospital on too. Apparently not. Okay. Let's check in on our waste transfer facilities here. They're pretty full. Pretty full. And that's pretty much the issue here. So looking at this, we do need to extend this power line. That got taken out by a lightning strike, looks like. That's very, very cheap again. Cool. I do want to check to see how much usage this guy's getting. 6 waste transfer trucks in use? Okay. Mostly that will pull waste transfer trucks away from this one, coming down here, would be the idea. And then that just generally shifts them a little bit this way, so that hopefully these guys get emptied a little bit more frequently. That would be the idea here. We've got a big garbage issue down over here. I'm not too concerned about it for the moment, but it's fine. Okay. So that waste transfer facility is likely fairly, or rather the waste processing complex is likely fairly close at this point to being paid for. We do have some garbage issues over here. Only 12 garbage trucks in use here. And only 11 here, and that's empty. Okay, so this should get taken care of.
People ask me, jazz, why are you so into jazz? Well, jazz
We shouldn't have a problem with that. What is this guy?
It's not just because my
Returning to facility, you are full. Sure.
Perform jazz, or made me listen to only jazz.
So lots of garbage for sure. I think that going back into recycling is probably a good plan. We'll go ahead and do that. That's fine.
Anyway, we got nothing.
That will help this garbage production issue.
All day, so don't go anywhere.
Okay. So I think that we're fairly paid off on this guy by now. It's definitely been a while. So I'm going to get this crematorium rebuilt, and that's this island replenished, except for this road. Right. We ran the road in just like that. Cool. Hello, pause menu. There we go. Okay. So garbage is definitely... Oh, hello. That's dipping down. Well, we're not going to be rebuilding anything else for a bit. That's for sure. We are up to 55,000 population, so that's a huge recovery. Cool. So looking at our actual garbage processing status here. We don't have a problem with garbage processing. We have a problem with garbage pickup. Specifically, getting the garbage from the waste transfer facilities to the waste processing complex. You're quite flattered that I went